Oh, there we are. Right, Baron.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Happy Friday. Uma, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
We're back with another episode, second episode, guys, of the Friday recap. We're going to be doing this every Friday, just recapping things that have happened. We're probably going to go a bit more broader in terms of some of the topics that we'll discuss. I think last week we chatted a lot about, the mining industry, and I think we'll carry on that tune as well. But, we've got Liam coming in today as well.
Liam's around there somewhere. He's in the building.
He's somewhere in the building. Yeah. So, we'll be discussing stuff around like healthcare, medical cannabis specifically. And then, a few things that probably look mid-conversation, tail end. Me and Umar love our technology. A few things in the tech verse that have happened that we'll probably want to touch upon. But yeah, without further ado, it might be worth getting some of the guys that are jumping on. We've got some cool guests. You'll see one regular guy, Sean. He's kind of like our co-host as well. Brings that energy. I think he's growing a fan base from the UK for sure. And then we've got Jimmy Gravel and Jean-Luc Ramdin joining as well. So
big up Jean-Philippe.
Jean-Philippe.
Brothers, I can see. Let me get the comments on. Why can I hear an echo? Sorry, guys. Get the comments on. There, let's go. All right. Should we get some guests on stage? What do you think?
Let's get some guests on stage. Let's get good old Sean in. He's a regular. He's our co-host.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, brother. How are you?
Are you guys related?
Nah, we're not.
We're not, but we did do the ancestry DNA, and I think we were only a couple of percentages off. So somewhere in our lineage, we probably have the same ancestors, even if Umar doesn't like to say it. But I think his brothers refer to me as their fourth brother.
I love it. Brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother. That's what I'm saying.
That's it. Sean, you're a brother from another mother as well.
I'm just going to mute my mic for a second because I've got a little bit of I can hear an echo.
Everything all good, Umar?
Yeah, all good, guys. Just crack on. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to work something out.
So he's going to work out the mechanics. But Sean, how are things going? What's been going in the wonderful world of Sean in the last week since we last spoke?
Well, the last week has had everything to do with the Precious Metals Conference in Beaver Creek, Colorado. I got an awful lot of good feedback from the different folks that were at that. A lot of them said it was the best sort of event that they'd had there. It doesn't hurt that gold and silver is doing so well, but it's nice when you see, as I've said on a couple of other episodes, what this business needs is a couple of really good wins. And they seem to be generating pretty fast. And it might be Umar's father-in-law that's the big win coming up with Altamira Gold. Like fingers crossed,
Mirror.
Yeah, they're doing really well. It could be Jimmy Gravel that you got coming on the show here today.
We got Jimmy down here as well.
Jimmy's a lot of fun. It's you guys are going to get such a kick out of him. Like usually, we're so careful to only bring in, companies that you stick your name on them, like you're real confident, like the real low risk ones. But in order to make this business complete, you got to have a couple of real high risk ones that could literally go to the moon. And that could be Jimmy. And all I promise you with Jimmy is that he's an honest guy and he's a hell of a lot of fun. So I'm glad you guys had him on. It means a lot.
Without further ado, let's add Jimmy onto the stage. Jimmy, a little bit of an intro for yourself.
Varun, I can hear. Sorry,
holy crap, he's there.
He's there. Varun, just a second. I think I can hear some echo. Is it you?
Jimmy, you look so happy.
No. Oh no, he's muted. Jimmy, you're muted. Let me get unmuted. Here you go. There we go, Jimmy. Oh wait, Jimmy, one sec. Unmute. There you go, Jimmy. You should be fine now. Go for it.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Good. Thank you, Sean. That was a nice introduction. I appreciate that.
We need a big win, and those usually come from the smaller market cap companies. So this is it.
It'll come in 2025, and it's already almost mid-September, so it's coming soon.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. I'm thrilled.
Now I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you all, and nice to see you, Sean. And my first podcast blog in my entire life, so it's quite an interesting beginning with you folks. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice. It's great to have you on here, Jimmy. I'm sorry. It was me all along. I had another browser open, and I could hear myself, when there's a lag, and I was just putting me off. I was like, whose mic is it? But it was me all along. My bad, guys.
No, that's fine. Technical issues.
On my end. Jimmy, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and how you got started in the mining industry. I know you and Sean had a really funny conversation. I was just laughing so hard that day. Well, obviously we're not going to mention it all, but Jimmy, go for it. Floor is yours.
We always laughing. I mean, I think it's very important in life to have fun. If you don't have fun, you need to find a new job, a new branch, a new life, and you need to enjoy your life. And I think it's very, very important for me. And that's what I tell my kids. Let's choose everything what you want at school, because if you do something that just for the money or something and you don't like it, you'll be unhappy the rest of your life. So that's why I'm laughing all the time, because I always do what I like to do in life. So
yeah.
No, guys, it's me and Sean knows each other for years now. It's a very, very good guy. I respect Sean a lot, and like a lot of people in the mining industry, Sean is a great, great guy. And he talked to me about this podcast. I said, sure, I'll do a try. Even it's my first time in my life. But listen, where I'm from the business side of the world. I didn't start in mining. I used to work in Volvo construction, selling mining equipment, excavator and trucks, and for Komatsu, and also in the marine industry to sell a giant cable laying system and winches and stuff for the boats. And used to live in Nova Scotia in Canada. And funny story, me and my ex-business partner, still business partner, but he's not with me in Slam. But anyway, this guy used to make movies, like big movies with like international name, like Steven Spielberg and Stephen King. And,
wow.
And a big movie guy. And Nova Scotia is a big province about tax credit for the movie industry. Mm-hmm. And in 2016, the government of Stephen McNeil, and I don't know what I can say in this podcast, but if I tell too much, you tell me.
Jimmy, be you, man. Be you.
Yeah, we're loving it so far, Jimmy.
They cut the tax credit suddenly, and for the movie industry, and all the movie that shoot in the United States, in the main, they weren't shooting in Canada, in Nova Scotia. We changed the flag and put U.S. flag and put down the Canada flag. Anyway, it was a big deal for them.
Yeah, get more respect, right?
Well, the main USA doesn't exist. It's Nova Scotia, Canada, in the movies. But anyway, that year, I believe it's in 16 or 15. Don't quote me on that, but very around there. They heard the movie industry, and my entire family then was working in the movie industry. So what happened? Me and my business partner says, well, why don't we stake a few gold mine in Nova Scotia? We buy that, and we create a little TV show about gold, like Yukon Gold and Alaska Gold, but it will be bigger than that. It will be about opening a real mine on the ground, and so we met with huge mining guy in Nova Scotia. We bought 3 gold mine and met very big CEOs of companies who explained the stories and said, let's do that. And it worked. It was, oh my God. So we did a little trailer and stuff, and we started a TV show. It was super cool. But we got rejected by everybody. Discovery Channel, History Channel, we all rejected us. And they said, we have too many gold show guys, so find another idea. I said, well, now we have 3 gold mine guys. Let's do something. What are we going to do with that? We know nothing about mining, right? So what happened, my business partner, but he rented a booth at PDEC, and PDEC is the biggest mining show in the world, I believe. There's like 30,000 people going there. And it's huge. We know nothing. And so he booked a little booth there, and he said, we're going to go sell the gold mine. I said, dude, I'm going to sell a gold mine at PDEC, right? And so the day he's really good again in movies and background. So he made a beautiful booth, very, very professional stuff. And I said, well, we're going to put a table. I said, I don't know. Put a table. Well, I don't know. We never did that. Right? I sell excavator. I don't sell mines. So what happened? Then we went to the shaft. One of the old mine. We found an old shaft that people abandoned in the Second World War, and they dig some rocks and put at the top. And so we grabbed some rocks and jumped in a plane. 12 hours after, we were in Toronto with the rocks on the table.
So you just got the rock from. So basically, you were like, "Look, I'm going to the PDAC. I've got this project. Let's just get some rocks. Let's put them on the table.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. If anyone's interested, if they're not, it's all good. Okay, go for it.
There's 30,000 geologists and engineers going there, and you got two clown at the table, with their rocks. And anyway, so geologists walk back and start to ask us, "Oh, this is beautiful. And where it's from?" "Well, Nova Scotia." And what's the grade of those rocks? "What do you mean by grade?" "We don't know the grade." It's like you got PDAC with rock at the table, you don't know the grade of the rock. I said, "No." I said, "What do you mean by grade?" He said, "Well, you need to send the rock to the lab and tell you how much gold's in there and stuff. And if not, you can't, try to option a property not knowing the grade." It's okay. Well, tell me how we do that. And so we came back with the rocks, and we have a lot of geologists interested. So this is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So we get back, and guys, I am not lying. I can tell you the proof. Send that to Dalhousie University in Halifax, and Dan, the chief, was the lab chief there. Test that, and it came back at 362 grams of gold per ton. Our sample, and a lot of mine in the world run at 1 gram per ton, right? Low volume.
Yeah. So that is incredible, guys.
400 grams of gold in those rocks. And it's like, okay, what's going on there? And we start to play the game, and so we sold that property and we make like $250K for just that property. And
that's good.
Business partners, this is a good niche.
Basically, you got in there. You literally got in there by chance, and you winged it.
We paid $400 for the mine.
$400.
We paid $400. I said, "Well,
you bought." All right, let's recap.
Yeah, so that's a good profit. So it's a
yeah. So let's recap it. So you went to the PDAC, right?
Yeah.
And you obviously, just for our listeners here, right, who don't really know about mining and in general, like, there's some people probably listen and be like, "What's he on about? Like, what's grade?" And et cetera, et cetera. So like, you've just flown to your mine that you paid $250 for. You got some core samples. You put them on the table. All the geologists there were like, what are the gram per ton on your samples? The samples you've sent them off for analysis, they come back at 300 grams per ton, and then that you hit your first 250K.
Yeah,
so that's a great entrepreneurial story.
This is exactly how it started. But the mining industry, guys, is so tight. And in Canada, there's probably 100 people that's real and work in the mining industry.
Yeah.
And you can make, if you're a good person and you play the game fair, it's very easy to make big friends and know people there. So you get very, very around very important people and very, very powerful people that will help you.
Yeah, you do.
In the last 10 years, I mean, now I own 3 private companies I'm president on, and I got a new gold district in Yukon. I got project in New Brunswick with NB Gold. I'm president of NB Gold now. And it's signed with different public company I'm not going to name today. Now I'm part of a Mongoose Mining. That's a very they are a very big drill target for next month in Nova Scotia. And now I'm vice president of Slam Exploration. When we started to drill Monday on a very, very large copper nickel project, and it started with just it started with almost like a joke, It was.
What, Jimmy? I wish I was as lucky as you. Like, I wish I could just, go put $250 down, go pick up, a rock, go to an event, and make some money.
And you have the sample, you have the rock.
This is the blockhouse rocks that came to PDAC.
Is that the one that's got 300 grams of gold in it?
That's what it is, and this one is about, I don't know, like 75 pounds. So there's quite a bit of gold in that rock. But this is it. What I didn't know when we bring that to PDAC, right? It's just a funny story. But this is how it started.
She was like, "What's going on here?" Like,
it's insane because obviously Jimmy's just looked at it from the perspective initially of a TV show, right? And then they somehow gone down this route, got relatively lucky, but also used some good wittiness. But you got to make your own luck as well, Jimmy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Jimmy, after you kind of sold that, what happened after then? You know, now you're president of many organizations and stuff like that. Like, what's the journey? What happened after?
Well, I'm not a geologist. I know a lot now about geology and you know, on the ground. I can work pretty good in the field. I like field. I like my forwarders. I go in the wood. I'm quite an explorer. But what I realize, it's you don't need to be the best in everything. You just need to employ the best.
Yeah.
So now we work with the best geologists in the world, in placer gold, or it was in hard rock, and you know we just employ the best guys in their area, and it worked really well. So you know I'm not gonna say, you know, I learned everything in 10 years, but I know how to find a good guy. And so when we find one, we grab it and bring in the company, and that's how we operate now, and we pretty successful in doing that.
Wow.
And working with governments and people around. But this is a very fun story. And if I like somebody that likes to play golf will be good at golfing. If if he's always go playing golf, he's gonna be like Tiger would and make $1 billion because he likes it and he's doing it. And
as we talk about $1 billion, I'm gonna bring Gene on the stage.
Yes,
he's from the crypto industry. You know, he's got a great financial background. So here we go. Here's Big Gene. What are you saying,
Hey,
Gene? Oh, you're on mute. There you go, Gene. How are you, Gene?
Good. I'm doing very well. You know, appreciate being on this call. You know,
Yeah.
I'm from the UK, but I'm actually from Trinidad in the Caribbean. I grew up in England.
Big up Trinidad.
Now I live in Dallas. So yeah, we've got to shout out the different countries. But yeah, happy to be here, man.
So what have you been up to, Gene? You listened to the conversation. Obviously, there's a bit of mining talk, geology. You know, you've seen all this, the whole new landscape of like tokenization of gold and real assets, CBDCs or whatever it's called. We've got a lot going on right in the space, and I've been, I know you quite well, I'd say. Big up Ibra for the link up, and you're definitely right. And how's things going with you, Gene? Just give us a little intro of who you are, what you do, and anything else. Just go for it.
100%. So I do a few things. I guess the first thing is like I'm a trader, in the markets.
Mm-hmm.
Typically commodities and forex and sometimes indices, and then also an investor in the crypto space. And how I kind of came about things was pretty funny. I came to America to play soccer. Like that was my dream, to be in the MLS. And 2021 just like everything changed. I was like, finance, like crypto, what? Like this is so new.
I want to take it back, like your footballing career. Give us a little.
Oh, really?
It was good, guys.
I didn't know we were going to go back there.
Highlights, your highlight reels, man. You were unreal.
Yeah. So I was all right. I played for Southampton Academy, so it was a pro club from age 8 to 16. So that basically took up my life. Like I was out of school for about 50% of the time, right? Because they have, you're training every day. They're prepping you to be this, high level player, right? And so yeah, that was a good experience. And then from there, I played at England schoolboys under 18s. And then from there, I went to Amarillo, Texas. So I went from England to Amarillo. It was a complete different environment.
Amarillo.
Yeah, like I didn't even know cowboys and cowgirls were real, like genuinely. And now I'm like walking amongst them. And there's people on horses. Like it's just wild. I love it.
Cue the hat.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that was it. So I was playing soccer up there, and then I moved after a couple of years. Moved down to Victoria, Texas, another small town, between Houston and San Antonio. And yeah, when I was there, I was just like, someone introduced me to the markets just online, complete stranger. And he basically just reached out to me on Instagram, and first thing you think is a scam. Like I'm just like, well, this randomer, I don't know who he is, like what's going on, but hopped on Zoom and I was like, yeah, like this is it. So just dove into the markets. And then funnily enough, I was studying finance, but then 3 months later, after I started studying myself, I got an interview in an investment bank, which I work for today, called Cherokee. And we basically deal with bankruptcy claims. Like we trade debt to hedge funds and family offices and stuff, and we do other like forms of financing. And then I joined the investment bank, and then 3 months later, Celsius filed for bankruptcy, and then FTX in November 2022. And I was like, wow, like I didn't even know my crypto knowledge and experience was gonna be useful at the bank. All of a sudden, they start going bankrupt. So it's like I'm in the weaves on a corporate end and an entrepreneurship end. So
both.
That was cool. Yeah, and then since 2022 to now, I mean, like we just basically just trading like crypto claims, you know, like offering liquidity to creditors, and so that's been a lot of fun. Actually, what we're working on right now is the Link 2 case. I don't know if you guys heard about Link 2. It's basically
tell us more about it.
It's a platform that people buy pre-IPO shares in, you know, companies like Ripple, Anthropic, Circle, things like that. And so like they went Chapter 11 bankrupt July the 7th. So, you know, we've been working on that case, helping people who invested in these projects. Like, you just got to think about it. Like, they invested in it, they don't know when they're getting paid out, they don't know how much they're getting paid out from the debtor linked to. Like, people are like confused. They're like, yo, like,
I'd like to just jump in here, Gene, quickly, right? And then loop Sean into this as well. So what happens when a mining company goes bust? Does anyone get paid out?
I
just want to, you know what?
No. You bring up a good point. If it's a big one, like a big producer or something like that goes under, then of course there's bankruptcy firms, creditor protection, all that other baloney.
Okay.
But the little guys, like the little juniors in that, I've seen so many of them. They either turn into shells that they just sort of hang around forever, or the really entrepreneurial ones pop up as something else. To be straight with you, those are the ones that make me the most nervous. Like, it's if I see a guy or a girl that you know, they said, hey, you know, I got a junior company, I've got a really nice gold project, and then you see them at a convention, and then the next convention, it's not gold anymore, it's now lithium, and they're suddenly lithium experts, and then all of a sudden they're weed experts, and then all of a sudden they're freaking Bitcoin experts, and silver takes off, and they say, I've always loved silver. You know, so that's. They're sort of, it's like whack-a-mole, you know, you hit them and they pop up something else. Right?
Is that what you're seeing, Gene, as well? A lot of
it's crazy. Like, you know, when you look at the reason why Celsius were bankrupt, FTX, you know, like Voyager, Genesis, all these companies, so it's like a repeating pattern, you know, like basically the board members, it's either fraud, it's either they said they had assets that they didn't have. It's either they took those assets, invested it into things that they never even told other people about. They either didn't, like in Link 2, for example, you know, they said that the investors had ownership to, let's say, a share of Ripple or a share of Circle or SpaceX, but really and truly, they didn't even transfer title to their SPVs.
Wow.
So those investors actually didn't have title to it. They just had title to like this empty SPV. So like, it's just like the same pattern in different forms, but yes, it's the wild west, you know, like it's tough speaking to guys who have lost a lot of money or companies and, you know, being like, but hey, we offer an option and try to give them like immediate liquidity at a discount. So at least they have an alternative to get out of this. But so I'm in like that wild west space of crypto, but then also helping out, you know, the everyday like trader and investor. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Gene, you're obviously really active on Instagram. Guys, give him a follow if you haven't.
That's nice to say, sure.
For sure.
Yeah, no, he you know, you're really big in the community there, right? Like we're always seeing you like helping, you know, everyday retail investors, right? Maybe you can share a little bit more about that, and you know, because I feel like that's something that you mentor a lot of people as well. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, 100%. So I just feel like there's a lot of I don't like the term misinformation, it's just overused, but basically there's a lot of uneducated people in the space, you know, and that's not to say that I'm the most educated or whatever, but at least like, you know, I'm a big believer in basically giving people the tools to become like independent traders or investors, right? And so, you know, one thing that I do just on like entrepreneurship end is, you know, basically teaching people about various projects, crypto security, you know, crypto, like insurance, liquidity providing, farming, just a bunch of different aspects. And so, yeah, like whether it's helping them with portfolios, you know, like if you're an aggressive, conservative, moderate investor, and that's just like, we have a platform where we teach that information. So basically teachers go live every day, from like a macro perspective, a micro perspective, teaching guys. And you know what's bigger, what I really love about what we do is the in-person side of it. So we actually take trips, you know, so we go to Middle East, we go to the Caribbean, we go to all over America, and we have these like trade lock-ins, right? So we bring people, fly them in for 3-4 days, and we're in Airbnbs, we pack it out, you know, from the morning time, New York session, afternoon, we're doing yoga, evening, we're doing the gym, nighttime, we're back on the charts. Like, so it's a cool, like in-person community where we like travel and have these experiences with. So yeah, that's what I like to do at the side as well, bro. And it's a big,
this is interesting because it's kind of like, sorry, Ram, were you about to say something?
Yeah. No. Go on. I think you can ask a question.
It's really interesting because obviously, like, you know, I've got a community on TradingView, and you know, same like Eugene, like, you know, got in it pretty bit earlier. I did try the mentors that I just couldn't handle. I just can't handle teaching people. So I'm just like, you know what, let me, you know, my entrepreneurial spirit. So I just try to do other things, right? But it's interesting because, you know, we got Jimmy here and Sean, right? And it's like one of the things we originally, you know, the way we got into these lives was like, you know, like I started going on LinkedIn, you know, me and Baron's got the Outliers, the agency. And what we realized was, especially the mining sector, there's not much interest when it comes to the youth. Like, they're not really interested in mining like the way they're interested in crypto, or they'll easily, you know, take a pop at a meme coin. Let's just say, you know what I mean, like Pepe the Frog or something completely random. But when it comes to the mining space, they're very, I'd say, reluctant. Like, you know, I've seen it on TradingView. I put charts out, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a scam." And I'm just like, bro, like if I put out a meme coin, you guys would be all over it, and, you know, just And so it's like, you know, there's a good little conversation here. And what do you think that is?
Yeah, do you know what? I feel like what you're saying is so true, because when I speak to people in the community about, I don't really speak about mining, but when it's been mentioned a couple of times, like the tech side, people are just fearful because they don't understand. They think it's like something super advanced that's like above them to learn and understand, you know, which is funny because when you talk about like a Trump coin or a meme coin, everyone's after it. You know what I mean? Like there's no questions about utility there, but when it comes to mining, it's like, no, let me stay out. Like the furthest, you know, one of the things I always mention about is about the halving cycles, you know, and about the miners getting, you know, half the blocks every 4 years.
Oh, you're talking about Bitcoin mining, yeah,
Bitcoin mining, yeah.
So that's why this is great, because you know why? You see, Sean's, Jimmy, you just see the experience, right? So Jimmy and Sean are part of the physical mining, right? But it's great you've mentioned that, because like these guys are from, you know, like actual, like, you know, gold, silver, copper mining, right?
Yeah. So, actually, like quarries in the ground.
So where you come in, you're dirt mining, right? And like it's like, this is the thing, right? We had this Mining Meets Digital webinar for this reason. It was kind of like, and one of the things we were trying to debunk is like the younger generation see mining as crypto mining, right? You know, you're not Gen Z, are you? You're Gen Z, right?
Gen Z, yeah, I think, 99.
Yeah, he's at borderline Gen Z.
Yeah,
he's
borderline
Gen Z.
And then yeah.
No, but like, what are your thoughts on like actual physical mining as well? Like, have you looked into that space? Because obviously gold's at all-time highs. You know, commodities in general are flying, right? And it's like something, you know, because you coach a lot. Do you get a lot of you know? Is there any interest in that side of the market, or do you feel like?
It's interesting you say that, because it's something that I haven't dove into much myself, like the physical mining side. Like, you know, it's funny that, because I was on a call like 45 minutes ago with a guy from Arkansas, like Little Rock, and he does a lot of he works with mining companies from Belize to America, and he mentioned lithium, and he was just saying about he's going to a convention coming up, and can't remember the specifics of exactly what he's doing within it, but he's working with like the Belize government and things like that, and my friend here who's in the trading community, he searched up Lithium Corp on TradingView and saw the chart, and he was like, hey, like, I've never traded these metals before. Like, this looks like a good trade here. And I was like, yeah, like physical mining, not really, I don't know too much. But the thing is like, gold, like, you know, it could hit 4K this year for sure. I was just but like, I think that's a space which there's not massive interest from the younger people to learn about, understand. But I think it's because it might be deemed as something more traditional or a little bit more boring. But obviously, Sean and Jimmy, like, I'd love to learn and understand more.
You guys hit it on. Can I talk?
Yeah, go for it.
You guys hit it on the head in the last episode. You really did. It's crypto, and that scares the hell out of me. Probably the same reason that the kids are scared of mining. It's we don't know it, we don't this. Name your cliche. But what crypto and Bitcoin has done way better than mining or probably any other industry is that they've created a sense of community.
Yeah.
So some kid who's in the basement of his parents' house, just learning, just getting mentors like Jean and stuff like that, they at least know that they've got somebody that they can reach out to that's in the same boat that they're in. In the mining business, if you reach out to 100 mining companies and ask for a call back, you'll be lucky if you get 2 of them call you back. Whereas in your community, they can go on the bull boards, they can go on these chat rooms, they can go on these communities, and they can get all their questions answered within seconds. And I think the younger generation, probably because my kids included, both parents were working, name your cliche, they're used to being discarded by adults. So I see the attraction to the Bitcoin because of the community. They're willing to take a shot on it because at least there's pals just like them. Even though they might be alone in their basement, they're not alone with the conversation. Whereas mining, it's the exact bloody opposite. They go out of their way not to call you back.
And what about the barriers to entry? Like, how accessible is it for somebody to get into the physical mining industry? Because I know with crypto and
no. Tell you what, the more I think of it, the mining business is very similar to Bitcoin. Like you hear all these miners say, Bitcoin's hocus pocus, it's all baloney, it's all imaginary. Only 1 in 10,000 projects ever become a bloody mine in the mining business. So in other words, you could have 10,000 prospectors running around the woods smashing rocks. Only 1 out of 10,000 of those projects will ever become a mine. Right? So 9,999 are imaginary. So in a way, it's very similar to Bitcoin. Even Jimmy and I, like the last thing we'd ever want to do is actually get a project all the way into production. We'd rather sell it before that and get people that know what the hell they're doing to take the next step. But the barrier to entry, Jean, is nothing. They need a trading account. They need a trading account and a CEO like vice presidents and that like Jimmy who will actually return their bloody phone calls. If they just did that, the mining business is actually a lot easier to understand than the Bitcoin.
Yeah, I invested once in the crypto, and my son is now 21, but he was probably 18. It was in Safe Moon, and I don't know if you guys know Safe Moon, but I put $5,000, and now I think it's $1 my value of my crypto account. I was like, oh my god! And I put a little more that too because I put a little more in XRP because I said, well, TikTok and everything, and I said, well, what is it? And so I kind of got my money back I lost with SafeMoon with XRP now, but that's about it with my experience in crypto. Oh, I got something popping in my screen.
No worries. Carry on.
And that's it. But yeah, it's not very mixed together. Crypto and real mining. I'd say it's. I know nothing about crypto. I know nothing. I can explain to you a lot about mining, but crypto for me, it's SafeMoon and XRP.
Yeah. Well, XRP is not a bad investment, that for sure.
Well, it was good. I bought it at like $1. Now it's $4 in Canadian money. So I was like, well, at least I got some money back from SafeMoon.
SafeMoon, yeah. One's risk on, one's risk off.
Good question as well, right? So, like, obviously, I think me and Numa found it hilarious that you thought that we were talking about Bitcoin mining, right? Because I think that's one of the things. But that is. Who owns that word now, right? In the eyes of millennials and Gen Z, mining now, that's been around for thousands of years, is kind of, that word is owned by the crypto community to an extent, right?
Yeah.
But then, what I would love to know is, on the topic of mining, right? Specifically, the what you say, traditional, conventional sense, like, what's your perception of it? Like just from armchair length, you might have not dove into it, but just as a consumer, as an everyday individual, like what's your perception of it?
From what I know or like perceive, obviousobviously it's highly lucrative because otherwise it wouldn't have lasted for so long.
Well,
and in terms of like the market, so basically any market cycle that can repeat itself and still be here like decades later or centuries later, there's got to be a reasoning for it, you know. And so, like, if I was to make the comparison with that form of mining to current like Bitcoin mining, I'm sure there's differences in terms of energy usage. I'm sure there's differences in terms of manpower. I'm sure there's differences in terms of the number of companies in the space, and also like the barriers to entry as well. Like maybe that's different.
It'd be interesting to know, when you're talking about energy, what uses more energy, Bitcoin mining or actual mining? That's an interesting question.
A good question.
Hayden, the only person I know smart enough to answer that is Hayden, and he just came on.
Hey, Hayden.
Hayden, great timing.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Energy consumption of Bitcoin, I know it's intense. Mining is heavy stuff. Oh, by the way, hello everybody. Nice to see you. But I'm not sure the answer to that question, but to answer what you were saying, Jean-Luc, lucrative, it must be lucrative. I don't know about you, Sean, but I actually know quite a lot of junior players or explorers, CEOs who don't pay themselves any money.
I know.
Because they do live hand to mouth. They raise, they get their penny stocks, and they raise, they're worth 50 million on paper, but it is a capital intense business. You might spend 20 grand in a day for a drill rig. And it's not easy. If you're serious miner, it is not easy setting out. It's a high risk business. And so nobody should be under the impression that it's just a lucrative business because it's mining. It's been done for hundreds of years. It's actually really hard.
Interesting.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. I think really like, when I say lucrative, like the potential to be for some people, like people might say crypto is lucrative, but then really 99% of traders are losing in the market. So, or investors. So how lucrative is it? You know, and like, you know, for example, there's that long-term discussion in crypto of like, and especially with everything going green these days, you know, the focus on the environment in terms of proof of work or proof of stake, right? Like it's proof of work, lots of energy consumption, crypto, proof of stake, more eco-friendly, like which one, you know, can we get more proof of stake? So that's a good question. I'm seeing a text in the chat here.
Like the comparison, right? I just did a little chat GPT prompt, so it's like, it's not far off.
Yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
Can humankind survive without crypto? Yes. Humankind can survive without mining? No.
Yeah.
Not at all. You know, it's just. I'm sorry to do that for the crypto people.
Oh, you know, that's smart. You're right.
So, there's. I mean, we're mining natural resource that the humankind need to survive. If you can grow it, if you can grow it like a tree or an animal, you need to mine it. If not, it doesn't exist, you know. But it's not just about money. If we, like in Canada right now, we want to mine copper and nickel, and because we don't want to be completely dependent of United States and China and Russia, and so right now it's like a survival for a country. It's not about making money. We want to survive. You know,
it's a necessity. Yes, it's a good that's actually needed, not just wanted.
Yeah.
Gene, you know, from your perspective as a retail investor and trader, do you actually care about its like position in life when you're looking at charts, and that's what your focus is on ROI? Does that come into the equation?
That's actually a good point. Like that's a good like moral ethical question, because as a trader, you don't care. Like,
yes,
whatever it is you're trading, right? Like, as an investor, I think you should care a little bit, because you're actually contributing, like you're putting money into the project. And it's that question of like, okay, well, in crises, in economic downturns, you know, like unemployment's high, maybe there's a war going on, maybe there's like climate change or like a natural disaster. And then the question is, well, there's companies, you know, like BlackRock, Blackstone, whatever it is, purchasing like the distressed debt of the land or the buildings or the things around it. And it's like, well, is that right or wrong? Like, should I care? Like, that part of my investment in the fund is in that company that's buying up that. Like, is that even right? Do you know what I mean? So I mean, it's a really good question to ask. I lost my train of thought. Something did come to mind though regarding that. But yeah, that's
That's fine. On that topic, Hayden, I know you got a lot of thoughts on this as well. So let's let it out.
I think without wanting to get philosophical, what do we want? What do we want as human beings, right? Yeah. What do you want? As you get older, you start to think about, we want to leave the world a better place for our kids, and so you have a tool at your disposal, and that is your money. What do you want to do with that money? So you're right. I mean, I remember seeing, it was quite an influential film in the early 2000s called Zeitgeist, right? I don't know if you heard about this film. It was quite influential when I saw it. And it's true that corporations become, myopic and sociopathic because they have a legal obligation to only concern about their share price. They have to. If the ticket goes down, the CEO's out. So therefore, they have to be concerned only about their share price. And as an investor, you have it kind of caters for your baser tendencies as close relatives of chimpanzees. So if it starts to go down, you say, "Oh no, I'm gonna." And so you really want to maximize your returns, but at the same time, we like to think that we have evolved beyond those. Immediate instincts. We hope so, right? We're meant to be intelligent. So at the end of the day, mining needs additional capital. There's a lack of capital. So we need to make sure mining is successful. And so it doesn't go into what you were talking about last week, guys, to these lifestylers, to ones which just the mining casino. We want to make sure it goes to responsible miners who will have sustainable growth curves. So you actually have long-term returns. And therefore, it must be done in a responsible way. Otherwise, you're going to be giving your money that you've got from crypto to the mining equivalent of dog with hat. And Baron knows what I'm talking about, because what the heck is that all about? It's a crypto coin that makes no sense whatsoever. So don't put it into a lifestyle miner, which isn't going to make any difference to the local community. It's going to probably trample on indigenous rights. Just put it somewhere sensible. And you'll get better returns and more sustainable returns. And it'll take away the risk too. So anyway, yes, you're right. I could go on and on about that, but I'll just leave it at that. Otherwise, you'll kick me off the call. Okay.
No
way, man. We like smart people on here.
You're smashing it. I love it. Love it. Perspective.
And how many, I don't know if there's a numerical number on this, but I was just out of curiosity, why is it that was two separate points, but why is it that mining companies struggling to get access to capital? And then secondly, how many mining companies are public compared to private with financials that you can dive into and, know whether or not it's a good investment or not?
I think I can answer that. I think the biggest problem that the miners have right now is there's too damn many of them. There's just too many. Like on the Toronto Stock Exchange, you could probably chat this or AI it or whatever. But I think there were 6,000 junior mining companies on the Toronto Venture Exchange alone, and 90% of them are under 5 cents a share.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow.
So when it gets diluted like that, it always comes down, like we said this on the last show, is it's got to come down to one thing: can it be a mine? Like one of the reasons that I wanted you guys to meet Jimmy is that there's no doubt he's got a lot of risk. He's got this, he's got that, but at least he's in an area of the world that at one point the biggest lead zinc mine on the planet was there. That whole area is very, very pro mining. If you went up to Miramichi, Bathurst, and the area that he's working on in New Brunswick, if you go to a coffee shop there, almost everybody in the coffee shop is in the mining space. So at least if Jimmy finds something, it's going to be a bloody mine. But as you say, so many of them are mining the markets. The big red flag to me, and it just pisses me off, is that you hear about these companies that they'll say, "Oh, we've been in this particular country for 30 years. We've built multiple mines. We've had lots of success. Why the hell are you still $2?"
Right. Yeah. Why is the price per share so low?
Yeah. Years and you're still $2. That tells me they're mining the frickin' markets. They're sucking out the shareholders' money with their little milking machines. And the only person that's getting paid is them. As a real company that's been together for 30 years, they're a $30 or $40 or $50 or $100 stock.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And like,
that's a big red flag to me.
Sure, like if I can add to that. So I think like
where'd you come from?
Liam's
This guy appears like.
Let me introduce myself. Liam Marsh, I'm business partners with Umar. We have a medical cannabis venture here in the UK. Just launched a couple of medical cannabis products. I'm sure we'll get into that, but the reason why I put my face in is because there was a kind of question asked around, why is it so hard for mining companies to raise capital, right? And just wanted to add to that, I think the key word there was saturation, right? So my background prior to, getting involved into the medical cannabis space was private equity. So, I would raise money for, a majority of projects, a lot of projects also in the mining industry. So, more junior, not listed companies. And yeah, like, my, I suppose, emphasis is on that kind of investor perception, right? Because I'm obviously on the phone to investors. I get to hear and understand kind of how they view industries. And yeah, I think saturation is a big thing. And I think, unfortunately for the mining industry, it's managed to kind of get itself into that world of, whiskey and these sort of quite outlandish projects. And unfortunately, a lot of investors have been burnt, right? So it's kind of like, I think there's a huge emphasis on kind of what investors look at and the kind of DD they do on like the management team, financials and things like that in order to kind of make a decision. Because, like what we've seen over the last couple of years, there's almost just as many sort of gold operators in the industry that are, taking money from investors and, there's no substance there. So it's kind of like, I feel like we've seen that a lot, and it's kind of a reason why there might be a bit of a reluctance from, the investor side to actually put, pounds or dollars into a more junior project,
For me, it's really simple. I mean, you just said something. It's really, like, clearly you're absolutely right, Sean. Too many players. But investors, savvy investors, retail investors, ESG investors, impact investors, they're not stupid, right? Mm-hmm. So if they see the market like that, they know it's just some dirty crap going on. They know that it's not right. And they just stay clear. They still won't touch it with a barge pole. And so, yes, there's too many. There's an apathy for the industry. It's an inherently high risk business. The geology is uncertain. The mining companies generally don't care very much. I say that. I mean, Jimmy's here. You hopefully you could be wrong, but many of these players, they don't do community outreach very well, so they don't engage with the community, especially they do it pretty poorly. And then the social license. I mean, 70 to 75%. I think I mentioned this last time. Of mining operations don't come to fruition because of social license issues. That's environmental concerns, community opposition, permitting, all under the same umbrella of public opposition. So if they don't get that right, then you're not going to take anything out of the ground. And investors know that. And so if you're only catering for high risk investors, and let's call it as it is, they're not shareholders because they don't hold long. They are speculators. You go for speculators, the only way to raise money at the moment in the mining industry. So that's why I'm always saying you have to do a better job with community outreach. So then you have to do a different job in catering for different kind of shareholders, shareholder demographics outside these speculating houses that you see. And so, there's just not enough money coming in. The investor base is too shallow, in my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah, that's really like interesting to know, and like this is news for me, so I'm kind of really getting educated, like I'm in the audience. I have a quick question, right? So in the crypto space, what we typically teach is like there's 5 criteria to consider before getting involved in an investment. Number 1, the utility, like what does the project actually do? Number 2, the tokenomics, like what are the numbers behind it? Market cap, total value locked, other numerical values. Number 3, partnerships, like what companies are partnered with that crypto project. Whether it's like Pantera Capital, is it something Elon related that's back in the project? And then number 4 is community. What's the community like? Don't just look at a number of X followers they have. Like, what's the activity of the posts that they're actually doing? And then number 5, utility partnerships. I think there's one more that I'm missing. It will come to mind, but so that's how like we'll break down like a crypto like investment, like whether or not you should invest or not. How would you guys break down whether or not you should invest in a mining company? I've never considered that.
Do you know what? If I can add to that, right? So I feel like, you know, especially when, you know, a crypto investor, you know, let's face it, it's a speculative investor, right? You know, it's someone that is really looking for the upside and they've got that kind of growth, you know, kind of ideology, right? But it's kind of, I think it's the same for any industry now. I think like the kind of old way of, you know, getting that kind of loyal investor base isn't through, it might be a shame in a way, but like it's not through the work you do as a company. It's almost the perception. You know, we live in such a digital age. You know, the prime example of this is Tesla. You know, there's no way Tesla is worth close to what it is, but because of the hype generated by Elon Musk, you know, it's a very hyper kind of example of it. But it kind of works the same way, you know, like especially when you move into kind of like the public sector. I feel like, you know, the companies that have exposure to, you know, social media and like you say, communities, right? And they, you know, there might not be, you know, this is more in the world of speculative investors, right? You know, these are usually companies that are, you know, they don't have anything to prove at the time, but everyone's banking on something, right? And a lot of people trust the people behind the cameras, you know, the people in the clips, people in the social media feeds. Like that is typically what gains trust nowadays in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what we're what we're kind of seeing, a huge shift in, you know, the kind of older generation that really dials into the financials and the history of the industry. And we're kind of more seeing the new generation that kind of more leans into the management and the senior management team and their backgrounds. And, you know, that is promoted nowadays via social media, you know, kind of very, very different to how stocks and, you know, public or even, you know, over the counter stocks are promoted, right? So I think that's because we're in that kind of transitional period. I feel like those companies that do have a handle on that kind of public outreach are the ones that just fly, you know, regardless of what you feel of the value, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And the 5th one came to me, it was competition, like competing companies called cryptos with similar utility. But like knowing what you guys know, like Sean, Jimmy, you know, Hayden, like in the weaves of like in the mining like space itself, what would you say is a few things that most investors don't consider or know that they should consider or know before getting involved in a project?
Well, I think the team is very important. The team that goes into a mining company, it's us as most, I guess, more important than the actual project itself. The project, of course, it's important, but there's a lot of bad team around. I can tell you that. But I'm thinking in every single, not just in mining, in crypto as well, in the milk factory. I'm sure that the team is very, very important. You can follow the track of the previous project that the team made, and it gives you a good idea of who they are. And then, you know, when even if the project's not great, they can find another project. If they don't take the entire money they raise in paycheck for themselves and stuff like that, they can afford to find another project and, you know, keep the wheel going and stuff. For me, the team is super, super important in the mining project before I invest money in. I invest a lot of money in mining. I got a large portfolio in mining, and I think one of my first one. I look at the grade, what's going on, but I go right now to investors, to the board, who's in there, and their background, where they're from, and that's how I kind of. I think people should know more about that. Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. I think number one is the team, the management, the track record. If they have a strong track record, it's going to be, even if the geology is not there, they will treat investors with the respect that they deserve. They will take care of the project, and they will, if it can be done, they have a high chance of doing it. That's just the track record. And then after that, it's the ability to communicate with the local opposition. I've seen great teams in tough jurisdictions where everybody's against them. The great teams are going to be the highest chance of doing it. But unfortunately, if they can't get that empathy right with the local community, that's a high chance of failure too. Absolutely. And then is weird. It's weird to say it with geology, but geology itself is the bottom one. It's like you have to pass the geology part. There has to be assay results to say there's stuff in the ground. But in fact, the three biggest predictors are those: management, leadership, social license, and then the geology.
Does jurisdiction matter?
If you get a good team and they drill and it's just a rock, they're gonna open a quarry and sell gravel. They're gonna make money, you know what I mean? But it's just.
But you guys are going to think this is just me trying to hear myself talk, but it's still, there has to be a story.
Yes.
You know, like you could have the greatest management, the greatest this, the greatest rocks, the greatest geology, but if there's not a good story that gets people excited about it, you're done. You know, and retail rules the world. People think I'm crazy with this, but here's a good example. Look at Cracker Barrel. All right. You know, Cracker Barrel, they didn't take that big dive because a bunch of retail shareholders were selling. They took the big dive because the institutional shareholders said, holy shit, the world's upset. We better get the hell out of this. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you're really like, look at what we did with Altamira Gold there, Umar, you know, a couple of weeks ago, like we told the story. It was a fun story.
It's a fun story. It's all about leading with the story and the leadership, right? Everyone's got an amazing story. And I think especially with the younger generation, like, you know, including myself, Gene, Baron, and Liam over here as well. The way we tend to invest is like, you know, community based. You know, we get tips from our friends, families. You know, it just builds that trust. And, you know, I don't think people have the attention span either to go through these 90-page, you know, drill reports and learn geology.
No, they don't give a damn.
I think you just you physically don't have the time to actually learn it, and that's the problem. Whereas crypto, I feel like people, you know, it's that herd mentality. People will be like, all right, there's 10,000 people going to go in there. Let me get in there before everyone, and that's where you see the rug pulls, etc. But some people make it, some people don't. With mining, it is kind of like that, but on a smaller scale. You know, it's a very speculative. They're all pretty much speculative markets until you get to, you know, the majors and the other ones.
But I was going to ask you that, Umar, and the crypto people.
Yeah.
Is that the mode of investment that you would like to bring to mining? Because if you're going to go for the herd mentality, I don't know if it's going to help actually deliver a sustainable future. You understand? But you want to bring your organization to bear on a project that you believe in. Right?
Yeah. That's the goal, right? It's you know what it is? It's like, you know, when you find something good and you really focus on, like the guys have said, Jimmy, Sean, even South Hayden, it's like the management team, etc. It's like in crypto, you've got those figures that are really, let's say, you know, they're popular. They've got big Twitter accounts, etc. People trust them. You know, there's that accountability. But I feel like in the mining, if you even YouTube, like some of the big guys, hardly get any hits, or even on YouTube and, you know, other platforms. They're all on the same platforms like Proactive Investor. I'm not saying anything bad about these platforms, and, you know, they're just doing their job. But it's kind of like, you know, it doesn't, the way they speak, it doesn't appeal to a wider audience because it's very technical. And I feel like the younger generation, of course, they're into crypto, but it's like, you know, if you can't understand what a CEO is saying, and, you know, a good example is the CEO at NVIDIA. What's his name?
Jen.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I'm going to give my son some food a minute. I'm going to come off for a bit.
That's right, ahead and you do your thing. But the point being is, like, he sells a very, like NVIDIA is a, you know, complicated company. They sell GPUs, they do a number of things. But the way he, you know, comes across is like he was explaining things to like a 5-year-old. It's like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, if you can break down an operation and you can talk about it as if you're teaching a child about mining, and, you know, you can make it as simple as possible, like throughout. You know, if it's press releases, obviously I get it. You've got to be technical and you've got to be on point. But the CEO has to be able to communicate to multiple different audiences. And the best way is to keep it very simple and, you know, storify it, etc.
Umar, you know what cracks me up is that I go to these PDACs, all these mining conventions all over the place. And I think I told you, I get a pretty good group of people from the New Orleans Investment Conference who every time I go to a conference, They say, hey, here are the 5 companies that I own. You know, do you mind stopping into the booth for me? You get it, right? So I go up to the booth. I stand there with the CEO and I say, hey, listen, you know what? Can I get a bit of an update? I got 5 or 6 friends that are shareholders of your company. And that knucklehead sits in front of me, opens up the PowerPoint, and then starts flipping through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages. Oh, this shouldn't be in here. This shouldn't be in here. No, this shouldn't be in here. What the frick is it doing in there? You follow what I mean? Like, you know, you spend all this money to put a freaking booth here and you got a 55-page PowerPoint. You can't explain it to me. No wonder kids are running to Bitcoin. And I'll tell you something. The reason I wanted to have Jimmy on the show is that he's just starting out. All right. Yeah. And he'll post his bloody telephone number on the screen. He'd write it on something. Anytime, you know, I have so many hot women on Twitter right now trying to have conversations with me. And I guarantee you most of them aren't freaking real. If Jimmy puts up his phone number on there and you say, hey, Jimmy, how the hell are you? I cannot talk right now. I am in a trench. I'm literally in the trench. Like, you'll hear the guy, right? And that's what makes Jimmy's story so much freaking fun is that if we find a way to follow him each week, get a bloody update from him each week, you're at least going to get the real Jimmy. He ain't a bot.
I can meet you guys on the drill. I'm going on a drill next week.
That's what I'm saying. Then
it gets amazing.
And we're following your adventure. But we want to see you fall down the hill.
I need to press release the drill before I show you the core because it's got to be in standard.
Stop playing. We got to hide the core. We've all heard this before.
Well, nobody do, and you know what I mean.
The grades are so good. I had to hide the core.
Do you know Martha Stewart?
You're killing me.
Stop it, Sean. Leave it out.
Jimmy, I haven't press released it yet, but I can't talk about it, right? But here's the stock symbol.
Jimmy, one thing I would say, Jimmy, is like what Sean's kind of referring to and Umar's talking about, and I think it's the stuff that would resonate with people like Gene as well, is that, you know how you were talking about you got into this mining by chance because you wanted to record a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you just got to do that TV show, but it's a reality TV show, you know, a day in the life of Jimmy, right? And I think it's that type of content that would resonate with us.
It really will.
It could work in a project in Yukon that I can do that because everything that's publicly traded company, I can't because I can do it live.
No, but you can take us to the drill. You can take us to the trenches. That's what we're saying. We don't want you putting stuff out that isn't in the public domain. We respect that.
Every time I'm in Yukon, every time I'm in Nova Scotia, every time I'm on a private property with a private company, there's no problem. The second I'm working with Slam or Mongoose, I can't. It's hard to be live on site.
But Jimmy, we want to see you interact with your team,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, like how you're interacting with us, the people around you, right? You've got a passion and energy that jumps off the screen. And it's that type of, if you're able to capture that as you go, I think it's that type of stuff that will resonate. And it's things like that which will capture people like Gene, Umar's, Liam's, and our attention.
But what about if I say, I can't show you the code? Oh my God!
But Varen, you're right. All right. It's and I'm going to say it anyway. It'll probably get me shot by the CEO. But like you look at the CEO of 1911 Gold. All right. About a month or so ago, there was a forest fire raging through the area where the mine is. Okay. And in the whole town of Bassett, Manitoba, they all got evacuated. Right. So Sean and his people, they actually went to everybody in the town and said, listen, we're getting evacuated, but tell you what, I can't guarantee its safety, but bring all your belongings and let's hide everything in the mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they had like a convoy of people with pickup trucks and snowmobiles and ATVs and all these people's belongings. They hid it all in the mine. And what CEO would ever do that? You follow That's what I'm getting at. Yet he won't let me write that story. I wanted to write that so badly. I said, "Oh my God, that's the greatest story in the world." But he's a humble guy. He doesn't want to do that for the sake of it. I said, "My God, man, Sean, his name is Sean also. I said, that's the stories that people want to hear. Like that's you, that's your heart. Like how many people would do that? How many people would say, we have a commercial kitchen, get everything out of your freezers and everything else and put them all in our fridges and our commercial freezers and that. So at least when you come back, you'll have your food.
I got this insurance company calling me. Just wait. Yes, the mine in the fire. Yes.
I love it, Jimmy. I love it.
But we really should be doing a day in the life of Jimmy Gravel. Like your last name is Gravel, for crying out loud.
Yeah. That was fun in Yukon because all my project in Yukon, it's gravel benches. And the first time I registered a claim in Yukon and they said my name, I said, Jimmy Gravel. I said, oh, come on, what's your name? She said, and they give my driver license. Like, this is my driver license. She said, well, that's Nova Scotia or Quebec. And I said, well, this is my name. And she didn't believe me. I said, oh my God.
I'm gonna just put a few things up or asked by like the chat, right? So let's go back. Who's asked the question? Go one by one. Let's go. You read them out, Baron.
All right, cool. I think kids see mining as old-fashioned. There's low awareness of how the industry has changed. Automation, sustainability, regulatory oversight, and what modern mining work really looks like. And that's from Jen. Shout out, Jen.
It's true.
And what do people think about that?
I think it's phenomenal, and Hayden would probably know this better than me. But I know that in Australia, for instance, they've got a lot of the heavy equipment is actually run by gamers in Perth, Australia, 2,000 kilometers from the mine. So you've got a bunch of people that are in cubicles that are literally playing games. They don't have to fly the people in and out anymore. Jimmy, is that not cool?
It's insane, absolutely.
Yeah,
the GPS system to trade the grader, the fine grind and stuff. When I was at Volvo and stuff, and it's how nobody can do fine grind now with a grader, and they just do it by satellite and control the grading and build the roads. Whoa, it's cool. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's where we are.
Guys, another question up here. So for Gene, RWA tokenization could bring Gen Z into mining, letting them hold ounces, metals in the ground, or fund exploration projects, opening a new phase for the industry. They can get to buy listed tokens with a difference to meme coins in that they will be backed by tangible value. And before we jump into that, I'm just going to share my screen quickly, right?
That's a big one.
That is a big one. So on my Instagram the other day, I ended up just putting a couple of basic questions out there. And, most of my, these are all people that I just know, Gen Zs and millennials.
Wait.
Hold on, chuck it on there. Boom. Okay, so let me just zoom into each question. Bear with me. I just it's just a discussion point, but I thought it'd be interesting because, I see so many times, me and Uma, I've seen it, where I think a lot of individuals, especially in the mining space, they think that what would attract us as Gen Z and millennials is specific to mining is if we care that, our iPhone is, made from copper and stuff like that. And, I just kind of put this question out. Do you care what your iPhone 17 is made from? And vast majority said no. Right. The next question, which is probably going to touch upon what the last gentleman who asked a question to Gene is like, would you rather invest into crypto and AI stocks or asset-backed stocks, gold or commodities? So, here, 74% are showing that, they're a little bit more inclined to away from ones that don't have utility, things that do actually have it. Then, have you ever heard of the term junior mine? Like, that alone, 80% of people said no. I think the four individuals who said yeah, I was quite surprised, if I'm honest. And then the last thing is, what's the least important for you when investing? Right. So we've got leadership, ESG, financials, and the brand. And what people ended up saying was, 50% is that ESG is the least important thing when investing. So, just kind of putting this up there, guys, on the back of the gentleman's conversation.
All right.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really happy that James mentioned about real world assets, because that's something that I wanted to touch on, because that's really like a great bridge between just like the decentralized space or crypto and like real tangible like assets with value, you know. And like as an example, one of my favorite like real world asset type of projects is something called Parcel. And I feel like for the everyday person, real world assets actually makes crypto make sense because it's like something physical. And so Parcel is basically this decentralized real estate platform where you can leverage trade real estate like demographic markets. So for example, in Miami, you know, if it's like, you know, maybe it's like the winter time, it's kind of cold, whatever it is, like you can trade that market down or up based upon, you know, factors that you believe that's where it's going to go, you know, like there was a, I think there was like a massive flood or something going on and the market was going down. Well, people were like trading that on the platform. And it's a pretty cool, you know, sort of like idea. And then there's another project called Ondo. Maybe some of you guys have heard of it, but basically it's the tokenization of US treasuries, which is cool, and the US debt market. And so, you know, it gives like a yield of like 5% a year, nothing crazy, but it's very large institutional backers. I think Morgan Stanley is, but it's like that bridge between crypto and like real life. And so in the mining space, that's going to be my personal research, is finding real world assets that are with mining and with blockchain technology combined. So I'm definitely going to dive into that.
That's Dean. I mean, so my experience, you know, with, you know, projects that try to adapt tokenization to like a real world use case, right? Like in my experience, usually the kind of angle is the transparency part of it, right? So like all the industries that I've seen this kind of get utilized in are industries where there is some, you know, unfruitful, you know, business going on due to the lack of transparency. So obviously when you include tokenization and obviously a blockchain to it, it becomes, you know, completely public and transparent to anyone involved. So like, I think, you know, it kind of touches on what we said about earlier about, you know, maybe there's, you know, due to some kind of unsavory people in the mining industry, they've kind of given some, you know, especially out of the public sector, in more kind of juniors, you know, they've kind of given the industry maybe a bit of a bad name. You know, if anyone can find a way to like, you know, include that kind of, you know, blockchain technology or tokenization in the trade in any way, it gives everyone that transparency, which I think, especially for Gen Z in the new age, it just leaves a lot of those kind of reservations that you might have. Because let's be honest, you know, whenever the dodgy dealings do go on in mining, it's behind closed doors, right? It's always information that is going to be withheld from investors. So I think, like, you know, even from a rating perspective, you know, even from like, you know, the handling of funds into a project, you know, if the mine itself can utilize tokenization on the spending, and then the entity raising funds can utilize tokenization, you know, it's just a very transparent platform for people invest into a project. So like, yeah, like whenever I think of tokenization or crypto and mining, that's like the go-to angle for me, you know, which is what will kind of give it the light of day and, you know, a kind of a use case within it, you know, because money's money, right? You know, you can trade, you can still get the deal done. The only emphasis of using that kind of tokenization is that real transparency. So I think if you lean on that angle, I feel like that could be, you know, maybe useful in the industry as a whole.
Guys, you guys are fairly clever. How do we figure out that somebody can use their Bitcoins to buy mining shares?
So do you know what, right? Like, so to give you an example, I mean, it's like similar regulated industry, right? So going to kind of cross into, you know, controlled drugs. So obviously we have a venture in the medical cannabis industry, right? And what is used quite commonly is, you know, because of the regulatory framework that we have to abide by, you know, there's regulation on growing it, there's regulation on handling it, and then there's regulation on selling it to patients or downstream, right? And because these are all, you know, held within different jurisdictions, let's say, there's a lack of transparency there. So, you know, early on in the industry, in kind of 2018, 2019, we saw a lot of, you know, producers and operators in the industry kind of utilize tokenization, you know, smart contracts, right? So, you know, it's still real money, but it's kind of underpinned by the blockchain. So everybody involved in the supply chain at a click of a finger can see, you know, what was transacted, what there, what was transacted, what there, what was transacted, what there. And, it did do well. And I feel like, if that was applied to something which I feel like is maybe even less restrictive to, controlled drugs, mining is probably a less restrictive industry to what we're used to. If it works in our industry, I have no doubt it can work in the mining industry, but it just feels like no one's adapted it in that way. And obviously, when you've got public companies, you have a lot of restrictions on how you can raise money. This is more, I feel like, an area where junior mines can kind of adapt this new way of thinking, and we'll probably see it filter up to the top, But it's just food for thought. I think, it kind of is a solution to that question of, why is there such a reluctance to people invest? And if you did have that kind of clear, plain and sight and transparency, it might have an impact.
Can you guys explain to me something? I just don't get it. I could Google it. What do you mean by tokenizing things?
So, like, for example, you can, it can sound quite silly very easily, right? So, like, a kind of silly example would be like a meme coin, right? These are things.
Have you met Jimmy and I?
Yeah. No, look, like, so, like, you can tokenize anything, right? Any asset you could basically put, into a kind of blockchain scenario, and it can be underpinned by currency, but for example, if I was going to buy, some gold somewhere and sell it to, let's say, a processor, which is then going to sell it to, the next person on, the investor can never see the dealings between it, right? But like the currency can still happen, but you can tokenize a coin or something that all of these parties have agreed to use for a transaction. And then when you're kind of explaining it to a retail investor, all the transactions are underpinned by a token, which can be developed internally. You can create your own token. You can use a token that's already established on, on a platform or on an exchange. So like Solana or Bitcoin or Ethereum are usually the most common ones because they're the most stable. Or you can create your own one for your own kind of use purpose. But like the idea is that every kind of fiscal currency that's used, there is a bit, a token that is attached to it, which is on a blockchain, and that is completely transparent to everyone involved. So that's the kind of like, if that makes sense.
So sure, it's almost like you got a gold bullion, right? And you take an ounce of that gold bullion, right? Not physically, but it's almost you have a digital twin of it. That 1 ounce is worth 1,000 tokens. Now, me and you can buy 50 tokens off that. If you bought the entirety of, how many ounces in a bullion?
Sure.
If you bought enough tokens that is worth the entire amount of that bullion,
that's what you mean.
Then you've seen instances where you can actually essentially swap that for your token for an actual gold bullion.
Okay. Can I throw one thing out, because I know we're getting long in the tooth here, right? But Hayden is very, very educated in this business, right? Can you do me a favor, Hayden? No, I mean in the highest respect. I do. All right. Do me a favor. Make Jimmy uncomfortable. Throw him some hard freaking geology questions. I'm ready. I want to push that freaking golden buzzer on Jimmy.
Before that, okay, go ahead.
First of all, okay, I'm a geologist. I'm not a mining geologist. I actually specialize in past climate changes over millions of years.
Okay.
But okay, so I'm not going to throw you any hardball mineralogy questions, Jimmy. So don't worry about that. My point, I mean, I started to, when I did my course mining communication, I had to learn a bit about blockchain, because one of the big areas, which actually people talking about that already, Liam, about how to employ blockchain in the mining industry. And that is on the horizon. People are taking that seriously, and there are companies in Europe employing blockchain and trying to use it for mining operations, because they see it as an essential way, as you said, to bring in future investors, such as yourselves, and to provide that transparency. So I always struggle with the heck is blockchain, this idea of tokenization. I get lost in the jargon. So for me, for a simple geologist like myself, it's simply an unalterable record of what has happened. For me, that's all it is. Perfect transparency and so I see that happening in terms of supply chains, in terms of like where the diamonds come from, they're like mined responsibly, for example. I can see that very easily. How that happens at a mine site, taking it off, from within inside the earth, I'm not sure. And then we talk about complicated things like social license, which, as I said, 70% of all delays and abandonment. I'm not sure how you would tokenize that, how you would put that into a blockchain exactly. I'm sure it's possible, but it would just require some very creative thinking. But whoever manages to do that, because as I said, these companies that I'm talking about in Europe, some spider company, I can't remember this, it's got the name Spider in the name. They are doing, as far as I know, for supply chains, for example, responsible diamonds. If somebody can find a way for junior miners to leverage that technology, that's an opportunity.
It's coming real fast.
Right.
Because you take Jimmy, for instance, he's in an area that's had mining for 150, 200 years. Jimmy, what they're getting at is that the blockchain would be able to analyze all that data in seconds. Like quite a few years ago now, Walmart was considering using blockchain in their supply chain management, as Hayden was saying. So one of the top people in Walmart picked up a mango and said, "Tell me where this mango is from." And it took something like 6 days for them to source where that mango was from. Jimmy, it took blockchain 2.2 seconds. So you can't tell me that you couldn't input all of that geological data and bang, the blockchain could tell you exactly where you should drill, where you should. Like, it would be really neat.
You know what's interesting about this?
It's not AI. I mean, is it block? Okay.
That's AI.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's again, I'm not a big technology guy, but last week for fun for one of my private company, I asked AI to build me a new logo, and it threw me a new logo of my company. It was beautiful, and it said, "Do you want me to create your website as well?" I said, "Sure." It's like a corporate presentation, a website, everything, in I don't know 3 minutes. I was like, "Holy!" And this is really, I don't think it's good enough, but it's impressive. It's super impressive.
Am I the only one that thinks Jimmy sounds like one of the Minions?
I've got a question for Gene, actually. Like, is there? Do you think there's interest in, there's, everyone, ethical. We had a question about, ethical mining and stuff like that, right? Like that side of it. So, there's a new iPhone 17 Pro out, whatever. You think people will care where the materials came from? Like, as in, like, you know what I mean? Like, on the blockchain, imagine you can go into your iPhone and it will tell you, hey, look, this is where it was all mined from. This is where we got it.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you kind of get what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or your Tesla, like, your lithium came from here. Here's the track and trace. Boom, 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 boom. Like,
write that one down.
Amazing concept, right?
Right. They put that on the boxes for a reason. I mean, it makes people feel good. They kind of decide, Samsung, Apple, if it makes them feel good about buying the product, it could be a deciding factor. But I think mostly it's for investors. So Apple's retail investment. And so retail investors want a company which looks good, like it's doing the right thing for the planet. And people do want to feel good about what their money is doing. And so if it's got a high sustainability report matrix, it's good for their share price.
But
and I was fascinated.
I think make money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We put that thing. Was it Varen? It'd be those those Instagram reels. Stories where there was this, these questions that you put out, and the last one got me. It said 50% didn't care about the social and environmental stuff. Okay, that's a problem. They need to be educated about that, and it's especially a big problem because we want them to invest responsibly in the future, and they should also know that if they don't invest in an environmentally responsible project, then their money is at risk, because that's the data, that's what it shows. So there's a lot of education is required here, but that kind of feeds back into that sustainability and why companies put that stuff on there, because it's for shareholders. It's good for their share price.
Yeah,
the keyword.
Yeah. Go on,
yeah. I mean, like it is, the number one goal for these publicly listed companies is increasing the share price and profit maximizing. And so if promoting basically green, something that's like eco-friendly in terms of the manufacturing of it or the production of it. If that has a correlation to an increasing in the share price and making the board of directors happy, 100% of it. And so I don't know, when I look around at like young people these days, is where the materials of an iPhone or electronic device or something came from, is that a deciding factor for them to buy it or not? 100% not. But is awareness and education increasing? Definitely. I just heard the other day, I was diving into EMF protectors, electromagnetic field protectors, and to do with how the radiation from electronic devices impacts testosterone and female hormones like estrogen, and it actually does have an effect. Because of that, I was like, wow, like, yeah, I'm gonna get myself an EMF protector that can kind of like neutralize that negative vibration for myself. But so I would say that it's improving and people are getting more educated, but I don't think it's at the point where it's going to be a yes or a no to buy a product just because it's not, eco-friendly or whatever. But yeah.
Okay.
That's a tough one. I think, like, again, I can't, no one can speak for the world, right? But just, as someone that's like had experience with speaking with like, investors, that are interested in private stocks, public stocks, from all different demographics, I think I can safely say, if you put any project or opportunity in front of someone and said, right, do you want the one that's going to save the planet the most or the one that's going to make you more money? I'd bet my life savings on what one they're going to pick, right? And yeah, I think it's like kind of that human nature thing, right? I think, most people ultimately, the ESG side of it is something that's kind of like needed nowadays because of like, the kind of climate we're in. But, when you get down to the human nature level of it, I think everybody's looking out for themselves more than the world, majority anyway,
It's not
the stock market proves that, these companies that aren't doing the world any good seem to go one way, So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's a hard question for any one company or person to work.
And I think like there is an increasing amount of subsidies and grants from governments now, though, for businesses that are actually integrating like sustainability measures and things into their products and services, which has increased over the past 10, 20 years. And that's helped because obviously it makes a company think twice on whether or not to be eligible for that grant or subsidy, which is good. So, yeah.
But on this topic, guys, Hayden, you mentioned it earlier around like getting, you asked Umar the question around like the type of retail investors that we want to kind of attract to mining, right? And it's those that are, ESG conscious. But at the same time, I almost think that wouldn't you need the masses, the speculators, to even get a lot more attention just generally, and then there's a percentage of those that would actually be more ESG led, right? It's a bit of a chicken and eggs. Like, if we, I know mining for the last 10 years, me and Umar have been looking at it in detail, and it seems like all the campaigns, the branding, everything is much more focused ESG. This is what it does, and
but that's the majors. You're looking at the Instagram profiles of BHP and Rio and Glencore, where it's perfectly gender balanced, smiley faces, color coordinated, whitewash. Let's put it, it's whitewash. It's nothing organic there whatsoever. And so yes, but you see that you have smiley faces intercalated with an Instagram carousel about interim dividend share payments. It's clear that even the Instagram profile is for shareholders, not for real people, like everyday people, concerned members of the community. They post and they ghost. They don't ask questions. They don't solicit feedback. People post a negative comment. They are never there. They don't care. Everything on social media for these major players is just for shareholders. Simple as that. And I talk about ESG investment, which that market money doesn't have a look in for that, and it's worth about 60 trillion this year. Imagine, it's a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity. I've spoken to the founder of probably the world's biggest environmental activism network in London, and I said, is there any scenario where your entity could put your logo on a mining project? And she said, yeah, of course there is. Can't do it because there's nobody there. And that was a mind-blowing moment for me, because just imagine for a second, I'll say the name of another entity, which is not the entity that I'm talking about, Greenpeace. Let's just imagine for a second that Greenpeace was to look at a project from the outside and then say, you know what, they are giving back to the local community. They do have a social license. They are going to definitely, based on their closure plans for this mine, give back to the environment 4 times. And it's truly going to have a net positive impact. We will put Greenpeace's logo on that mining project. That's evidence against interest. Greenpeace would never say that. Can you imagine what would happen to the ESG market for that mining company? That suddenly they'd have credibility. You'd have enormous investment into that project. But mining companies just simply think, oh, it's too hard, it's not possible. But I know it's possible because I've spoken to
Aiden, that's pretty cool.
It is interesting.
Guys, I really appreciate it. Do have to go briefly to a meeting. Thank you for the opportunity. Love the chat as well. So, Sean,
I'm
Jimmy,
sure you'll be back.
I'd love to be back. Appreciate it.
Take care, Gene.
All right.
So, Jimmy, we still want to do the Jimmy show.
Jimmy Garvin show.
Listen, it's very interesting. I'm very happy that I joined your blog, guys. I don't know if you call it your podcast, but it's very interesting. Very interesting what you're saying, Hayden, as well. It's very. I'm learning a lot. Opening my mind on different opinion. I guess it's pretty good.
Hayden, sorry, you know, on this topic of that type of mine, right? That could get the stamp. Like, how far are we from that? Like, are there projects out there close to that? Like, what's the situation?
Yeah. So I've dipped my feet in the water a little, paddled there a little bit. So the most progressive mines at the moment are currently in Scandinavia. There are a few mines, I believe in Ghana, gold projects. But now the reason that sounds like, what the heck, Western Africa gold? How is that possible? Well, it really is a lot of difference regionally. For example, Western Africa, if you go to the DRC, that's a mess. Go to Ghana, which has a proud history of embracing gold, going back hundreds of years. It's actually kind of got a good social license. And so the mining operations which go there, the explorers that go there, and before they've taken anything out of the ground, already are planning for closure 20 years away, and are able to show the local community what it's going to look like, and even have plans for partial closure in 5 years, so that they can actually give the land back already. Those are the ones where we are, I would say, almost there. You know, in terms of, there's internal politics too with these NGOs. They are fractured, just like every large organization. They have people who say, no way. Extinction Rebellion, for example, fractured into Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion. And Extinction Rebellion said, we're not going to do, disruptive protests anymore. So it's hard. We are having to do a lot of diplomacy within these NGOs, but I know, because I've spoken to the founders, that it is definitely possible, and that is the big promise. If we can bring together these really polar opposite entities, truly it could be a game changer in bringing a stupid amount of investment into the mining sector. But there's no room for speculators in that case, and there's no room for these lifestyle miners. They are out. Like Sean said, need to clear the market of those people.
Yeah. There was a company here, just local company, and they were trading at 5 cents. The CEO was making $700,000 a year.
That's not bad, is it?
Ridiculous.
So, like, going back to Jacob Godin here about an hour ago, he put this thing out, where, team with a successful track record. Sometimes the successful track record, they're the folks that just figured out how to mine the damn markets. Do you follow what I'm getting at? So one of the things that I look at is, how much is the CEO getting paid? And listen, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. I get it. But if you got somebody that just got their project, they're just getting started, they only got 2 bloody drill holes in the ground, and the CEO's taking $700,000 a year, run.
Well, I can tell you that my paycheck is 0. So
Hey,
That's bad too. That's bad too, because that tells me you're falling in love with the damn rocks. I want to invest in a business. You can't fall in love with the rocks, Jimmy. Get yourself a damn paycheck. I'll help you get funded. Seriously, like whatever the hell I got to do, because you need a paycheck.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, no way I'm making any damn money.
I really love that project, and I was supposed to take it a little more easy in life and not retire but semi-retire. And when I saw those projects last year, I called Mike and I said, "Dude, I want to be part of that." But since then, I bought a good chunk of the company, so my salary is zero. But I'm a large shareholder, so it's okay.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I worked with a guy years ago. Okay, I was vice president of this mining company, and we had a CEO who was so good at being cheap, it got to the point of being ridiculous. And I remember him telling me one day, he came from Calgary to meet me at the mine in Colorado, and he used to fly all the way to Phoenix, Arizona, sit at the airport all day, then take a flight to Denver because it saved the company $100. And then this week, for instance, I don't mind saying this because I thought it was really freaking cool, right? I had Aya Gold and Silver came with me to Fox Harbor for a golf tournament. They donated a gold bar. They donated 10 silver bars, and the CEO loved it. He's already signed on for next year. Market cap of the company, by the way, went up 142 million, Jimmy, the Monday after the show.
Wow.
So you want to know, bids don't lie. It's like Shakira. These bids don't lie. All right. But the one thing that he said to me at the event, he said, "Damn it," he said, I wish I had a thought of it before, but Fox Harbor has its own airport. Like the business jets come in and out of there. And he said, I should have chartered a Lear jet or something from Montreal, because he said it took me a full day to get here. And he said, I could have brought more members of the team. He said, it might have cost $15,000, but he said it probably cost me $50,000 being out of the thing for a whole day getting there, whole day at the event, a whole day getting home. He said, I could have come in the morning, finished the thing, and be back to work the next day. Those are the guys I don't mind spending money. He's got a $2 billion company. His time's got to be bloody valuable.
Yeah. That's what you're talking about, is being in front of people and being real and being human and communicating. And that is something that mining companies still don't get. And you guys talk about storytelling a lot, but seriously, they spend an enormous amount of money doing the on-the-ground work. And Jimmy, you know how much it costs to drill a hole, for Christ's sake. It's really expensive. But they won't employ somebody to manage their social media, which would which would make them shed loads of money in terms of their social license, their shareholder perception. It really would actually be a huge net positive. It's like 15,000 on a private jet, but then you get, it makes sense, right? Why wouldn't they spend 20 grand on a part-time person to maintain their social network, do community outreach and that kind of stuff? It is a huge amount. It's a revenue driver for your share price. Really.
Hayden, I'm going to write an article on that. I'm going to get some of your buddies hired, because I think that's a hell of a good idea. Because it used to be before 10 years ago. I was with a company called 15 years ago. I was with a company called Go Gold. And we got on Facebook for the first time. We got on LinkedIn for the first time. But when the CEO came to me and he said, "Did it sell us even one share?" I couldn't answer that question. So there's no way in hell I could have convinced him to get a social media person. But today, oh my God, you're missing the bloody boat if you're not doing that. Like you really are. Like we had a client a little while ago. We clean up shareholder lists. That's our core business, right? Companies give us their shareholder list. We find out who's alive or dead. You get it, right? But we had a company a while back, NASDAQ company. They had 150,000 shareholders, 150,000 of them, Jimmy. Can you imagine? Right? And the CEO loved the idea. He was like, Hayden, he got it. He goes, holy shit, we could get a lot of feedback from 150,000 people. And he said, but you got to get through the CFO. So I went and I met the CFO in the boardroom, and the guy looked at me and he goes, do you like Clint Eastwood movies? I said, sure. And he said, do you want to talk or do you want to shoot? And I said, I want to shoot, man. I want to freaking shoot. Like, let's just shoot, right? Where are we going? I'm ready, right? And he said, I think you're a complete bloody waste of time. And he said, I know the CEO loves you. He said, but this is bullshit. He said like 30% of our company is owned by 5 big funds. Why would we give a shit? No offense. I know you want to be fluffy, but why would I give a shit about 150,000 knuckleheads who only own $100 each of the damn stock? Well, guess what happened? They fired the CEO for whatever stupid reason a couple of months later. It pissed off the 150,000 people so badly. They all got on their little chat rooms and they voted against the board and everything. They obliterated the company, Jimmy, in 7 minutes of the AGM.
Oh my God!
Smashed that company.
Yeah.
Wow.
Retail moves markets.
We are in the age of the ants. We really are. When you look at the Cracker Barrel thing, and that stock bloody plummeted. It plummeted because the retail people got upset. If you're not paying attention to retail now, you're fucked.
No, that's the best way to put it.
Hammond.
Good. I like that. Oh, well, that's great. I mean, Sean, I know people. Sean, so I have a network. I have a network of content creators who are geoscientists. They have a combined reach of over 10 million.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's find a way to strap them all onto Jimmy. We'll send him off like a minion rocket.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of my business. So, Jimmy, let's have a chat about your business.
This is it, Jimmy.
I think this is great.
That's why you're here, buddy. Yeah. Hey, Omar, can you pull up the picture of Jimmy covered in mud?
I'll send it to you, Aaron. Put it up.
There's a 3-inch pump exploded my face in Yukon last month. But anyway, while it's it's great. I think we can do great. It's all good ideas in Canada, I guess. I don't know if you're familiar with the laws here, but it's a little more strict in the last few years, and it's First Nation as well give us really close to reality with Greenpeace and UNESCO and all this. It's really the 42 other ones around and stuff. It's really it's not easy to open a mine in Canada right now. You need to be very gentle for what you're doing. You can't just put poison everywhere in the wood and open a giant open pit mine. And it's really so you need to do it well, carefully, and respectfully. And this is the point. That's what we're going to do. And that's what I'm doing, not only in Slam, but in Yukon as well. We are working really closely with the DFO, that's Department of Fishery and Ocean in Canada, and the government and First Nation and everybody there. And we all, we have archaeology site that we take care of and everything. It's very, very controlled. How many fish going in the creek there, and it's very, very.
There's a man who's in the trenches.
Yeah, I am there.
As well.
We're invested already. That's great.
But, I'm sure it's the same around the world. But if you think about like the chocolate industry, the coffee industry, they all do that now. Like down south in Costa Rica and like this free trade, good trade company. I'm sure we can do the same in mining. And there's a couple of mineral that's worse than others, like cobalt. We all know that some cobalt from Madagascar and all those places are really bad review right now, right? With cancer and kids mining, and so 100% sure we can do better and cleaner and respectfully for everybody. But we need to remember that we need those critical minerals. We need it to build planes and phone, and we're not going to be online right now all together without mining. There's nothing we can do. We need to do it, yes, respectfully, but we need to do it. There's no other solution there. So
it's just that how do we get that social? Because you've mentioned a bunch of stuff about communicating and being in the community and that kind of stuff, which is really awesome to hear. But it is complicated. There's always going to be people who are just against it. Always going to be people like that. I was speaking to an entity in Minnesota, right, just last week, and there are vested interests who are paid to oppose mining, like lawyers. Who are backed by foundations and environmental networks. They are there to make life impossible and to stop at all costs. In those cases, that's where my speciality comes in, which I work with the brain and how to mollify and soften those kinds of really hard-headed. I'm the person who actually convinced the Jehovah's Witness that they were wrong, and I actually convinced them. They actually became an atheist after they talked to me. So if I can do that, I've got to have a bit of talent, right? So I use something called tactical empathy. I work with neurology to try to soften those voices and to try to get communities on side. And it works. It really works. But that's what we're up against. I mean, Umar and Varun, coming into the industry, it's friggin' hard to get agreement to do anything.
More about that as well. It's actually, Varun, just give us a little deload of experience of other industries, and now we're doubling down on mining, and what's been the challenges.
Yeah, I think look, one of the lures and why we were attracted to mining is we genuinely do feel it's a blue ocean. I think a big part of it is as well is I hear Hayden what you're saying around like the notion of that. There's two parts to it. Like what you're kind of referring to is that internal communication, the ESG, the community, that the community on the ground type of stuff. But I think overall, like what me and Umar and others around us have seen is that it's kind of two parts. Where mining just needs to be a lot more sexier, right? For layman terms perspective, right? You look at technology, you look at automotive, you look at retail, you look at health now. Like healthcare is like completely rebranded itself, right? Biotech and healthcare as wellness and longevity now, right? They've completely repositioned themselves and just made it a hell of a lot more attractive, right? And I think mining just has to leverage a lot of the things that I've already done. And I think that's one of our things that we want to start doing is just making it a lot more consumer-fied. I think one of the previous panels conversations that we were talking, I think, is this notion of if you look at something like Workday, for example. Workday is like a B2B software, right? It's just all around HR. It's boring crap software, right? My wife complains about it all the time. But how they've over the last couple of years kind of rebranded themselves is something that you've kind of alluded to. Like they're aware that even though it's B2B, at the end of the day, it's humans that are actually making the decision, right? That's why you're getting a B2B software that's focused on enterprises, but they got Ozzy Osbourne in the frigging advert, right? I'm not saying obviously to that extent, right, and getting Nickelback in there or for mining or junior mines, but I think it's about kind of drawing that inspiration. And once again, it's what's gonna, for those 3 seconds that someone's scrolling on social media or their friends pinged them a message, how can you actually engage them? And I think a big part of that is actually just making it more consumer-fied, making it more similar to brands and products that they're used to, that they're familiar with. And then that gets their attention. And then after that, once you've got their attention, then you can actually start getting them to be more informed. Then they're going to be more willing to be educated. Then they're going to be the ESG kind of conscious individual that will actually be able to distinguish what a good project is versus what a not a good project is. But I think it's that face value thing. I don't mean to be crude, but when you're on a date, and you're meeting someone on a blind date, it's just that type of perception. If you're attracted to it, then you'll give that individual time in that respect.
Well, I guess we had that chat offline at a different occasion, didn't we? And it's the front end of the back end, and I was just, all I'm passionate about is that we're not putting lipstick on a pig, right?
Yes.
So we want it to be attractive. We want to work with these content creators. We want to rebrand it, and that's what you guys are doing, and that is really important. Right? Can't understate that. But it's just that when we have the attention of the next generation, these new investors, we want to make sure that there is an industry there that they feel is investable, right?
Yes.
And for that to happen, they need to start to rethink the way they engage communities, because in order to make that investment actually safe, like that's what I'm talking about. We want them to be safe with their money and to have it grow. Yeah. Go, Jimmy.
Another point on that, sometimes it's not just millions and millions, and sometimes I talked to a community recently, And I said, well, what do you need? I'll help you. Tell me what you need. And they wanted a little house for the kids to go play in with a pool table and stuff like that. That's the only thing the community needed, for the kids to have a place, a safe place to go. You know, when there's a problem at home or anything, they have a little place to go. That's it. That doesn't cost million. That costs like $400K. And that was the only thing this community wanted, to be happy with opening a mind on the community. So it's communication, education, and sometimes the communication is very, very good, because it's for a public company to build a $400,000 little community barn for the kids. It's fine, it's completely fine. It's but
400,000, I'd move into that. What kind of barn are you making, man? We're not looking for a French Quebec funded barn here.
No, but sometimes it's easy stuff. Sometimes you think they're going to ask for $200 million and but it's not. If you got some communication, so it's all about talking to each other. So going there with the bulldozer,
400,000, but some people won't spend 20,000 on a social media expert.
100%.
Yes, I agree. No, that's true.
Hey, we're going to find a way to work with you and your pals, man. We're going to do big things.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
We're going to put a body cam on Jimmy. We'll be able to see him going through the trenches. It'll be like a naked mole rat.
Jimmy, I actually have a YouTube shooting script based on the best practices of Mr. Beast and Mark Rober, and I want you to be in it, man. I don't know if you have any.
There you go, Jimmy. A star is born.
It's gonna go viral. Seriously. Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. That's the stuff that people were just entertained to. I
the
think
only
it's
problem,
fine.
all of his ex-girlfriends are going to see him. They're going to know where he is.
Well, don't start rumor now.
Yes, even better content. It's fine.
Sure.
Guys, it's getting late for me, man. I got to get going. It's 6:00. I got to get to Costco.
I got a huge Western festival in Saint Tite here in my little hometown. I got 700,000 people coming for rodeo, and I'm a volunteer there. And I'm ready to go. I got all my volunteer shirt. I got my cowboy hat, my boots ready. So I got.
Go ahead.
Jimmy, I'm happy to hear that. I thought you were going to tell us it's Special Friday at your house.
You guys go see that. It's called Saint Tite Western Festival. It's a huge deal here. This is it.
I'm just glad we don't need a safe word, Jimmy. That's all.
We love it, guys. And I
appreciate you guys are great.
You, Jimmy, Hayden, if you want to hang about or you want to leave, it's all good. I think we'll carry on for a bit longer. But thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody. It was really cool. And I think we're gonna.
I really am.
Good idea.
Cool. I think it's nice when you bring people from different backgrounds and get different perspective, especially in the mining industry. I feel like there's a lack of content that's like the conversations we've just had today are like super insightful. Even me just soak it up, hearing from you, Jimmy, Sean, Hayden, we had Gene on earlier who Gene for, we were talking about crypto mining, and it was like, kind of like, so the fact that, he was like, okay, we're talking about actual mining, it just shows like how people perceive it in the younger generation. They're probably just, That's a very, very interesting chat, guys.
It was. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Have fun at the rodeo, Jimmy.
Enjoy your rodeo. I'll let you
this
down.
Rodeo.
Yeah, I wonder what we're in.
Under his desk, he's got a case of motor oil and some jumper cables, but we're not talking about
We got to go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
On that note, take care, Jimmy.
Cheers, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you, Sean, as per usual.
Likewise. Bye now.
Oh, wait. I took the wrong one off. I took you off by accident.
There we go.
I'm going to take about 10 more minutes. But this has been really great. I really like the insights. I really appreciate what you guys did, because you're trying to do something totally different. You said this in the last couple of weeks, right? And the potential is so powerful. And I think that what's great is that you're having these conversations with people who know a bit about the industry, because
Yeah.
you want to do it right. You want to make sure that this is employed in the best way. So it's really cool.
We
And
appreciate
what we've
it.
done already, you're giving it this free content to people to inspire them how they could possibly do it better. It looks like a Netflix kind of presentation deck and all that kind of stuff. It's so freaking cool. So it's awesome.
Oh,
No, I appreciate that, Hayden. Yeah, no, I think it's always, there's incumbents and then there's outsiders that come in, and I think they need each other just as much, right? And we're not coming into the industry with any big egos. We know how much of a challenge it is, and Umar's had direct experience with living with his father-in-law to understand that world. But I think it's also been great, like people like yourself, Sean especially, and Anna and a few others, that they've been just very, very receptive, and it almost feels like we've come in and we're all speaking the same language, but also we're understanding like a lot of the priorities and the blockers and the mental models that are already there that are hard to shake, and then we can navigate those tactically as well.
Yeah. What excites me most is that there is a possibility of disruption in a specific way, and that is most mining companies, especially juniors, are kind of stuck in their way and stuck in their investor demographic as speculators, and they really just game the system because it's the only way they believe that there's a way to raise capital for this capital intensive business that they have. However, if you were to come along and to make the right investment in the right company, choose the right management team who have got a strong track record, right social credentials, and then you were to use your networks to invest and pour money into that company, suddenly you have almost overnight a proof of concept that other mining operators can say, holy shit, this really works, right?
Yeah.
We can do things differently. And then right away, I can see this having a domino effect. You could change the whole mining market within a year. And suddenly at these big events like PDAC, they're inviting crypto there. They're doing all kinds of stuff. We have to do this differently. This is what they need. This is what we're going to do to cater for that need. So it can happen really quickly. So yeah, it's cool.
It's about getting that momentum. And I think it's, like you said, it's tackling both the front stage and backstage as well.
Yeah.
And I think even today's conversations, right, you can see like certain things peaked, CEOs like Jimmy, right? It's like, oh, I've never really thought about it from an ESG-led perspective, almost like B Corp for junior mining, right? And then at the same time, you've got, yourself peaked interest from the notion of like tokenization, and because I think there's obviously doing it in a way where it's actually going to have some utility, but also, I feel like it's that bridge of Gen Z and millennial retail investors that if it's got I don't like to say it, but if it's got a bit of AI or Web3 sprinkled over it, that's once again going to make it a little bit more attractive, that they're willing to give it that more than 3 seconds.
How long? Because I don't know your investor demographic well. How long do you want to hold stock for? What's your appetite for risk? What I mean, for a return for 5 years, 2 years?
I obviously come from the retail space. Got quite a big community on TradingView, and the way I view it is kind of like I just want to. So back in, I say 2020 is really when I got involved in the junior mining space as an investor. And what I quickly realized was that I know how to look through financials, understand like some of the geophysics, but it was I say there was not enough news flow. Like you're always waiting for a press release, so it's kind of like I'm used to the crypto scene, the other alternative, even tech companies, right, where there's like constant feed of like it's that trust, right, transparency. They're doing something. Oh, we're doing this. We're jumping on it. There's a YouTube new podcast out from the CEO, or they're not just talking about the same script. And it's like I felt like I just didn't hold it for long afterwards, because I was like, hey, look, all these stocks are tanking. I got in, they peaked, And then I was like, oh, look, my original idea was I'm going to invest into these mining companies. I'm going to hold it as gold grows, you know, or whatever asset commodity that I was trading previously. I would put like a certain section of, you know, my funds into these juniors. And then what I've realized quickly was like, it don't. So I've done a lot of back testing. I realized like, it doesn't actually correlate like that. The marketing is actually more important in these speculative, you know, these juniors. So it was kind of like that. If I can't invest into a stock that has zero market presence, so, you know, broken links on their website, the YouTube's not even working properly, like there's nothing there. It's like, you know, how can I basically push this towards a community, and why would I hold it for any longer than I need to? I'm just in and out. Or like, you know, on the other side, it's like, you know, if I'm invested into a certain, let's say a great you know, crypto or something, it's just like, you know, constant news flow, there's big communities, there's like, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of information, everyone's talking about, hey, the CEO is going to do this, and there's a lot of insiders, so you get information way quicker. So I think it's that information game. We're in the information age. So
Umar, you know,
is that sorry, beg your pardon, Ryan. Go ahead.
Umar, on that topic, I guess like people like yourselves and other retail investors of your ilk, cut from that cloth, like what would make them hold junior mining stocks? Like,
I genuinely think what will make people hold is not just digital presence. Obviously, I'm not saying, oh, that's the only factor, but it's like, you know, once they, because the thing is with retail investors, it's like, you know, you can come across some thing on, you know, Wall Street Bets or Reddit, right? And you might be like, okay, look, there's a few people here invested into it. But then it's like, once you're in there, it's like you're either in there short term or long term. And then what's going to make you hold it is something like a great leader. I genuinely, like, you know, we talked about management earlier. It was kind of like, hey, I'm on YouTube, and, you know, one of the stocks I invested into was McEwen Mining. I watched his Jim McEwen, I think. I forgot his full name. You guys probably know better, right? I don't know. I researched this company. I saw a great YouTube video of him talking about his story, and, you know, I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna, you know, put some money in there and hold it. But what you realize is like that one video is not enough to keep my attention. So it's kind of like that, it just dies out. So
what you're saying is that the way that juniors communicate right now literally favors speculators and turns off longer term investors. It's simply like that growth curve, one favors the other. So if they just shift the way they communicate, the volume of communication, frequency, the engagement, it would create a more stable growth curve.
Hayden, on top of that, it's not just the communications, it's actually like what they're doing on the backstage, whether it's ESG related or whether it's actually trying to be more innovative or whatever they're doing with their project, right? So you've got, yes, leadership, yes, the project, right? And I would include like ESG within that. And then there's, you know, another domain, which is, you know, maybe around like their appetite for innovation or how they're implementing it.
Yeah, and they communicate that. That's what I'm saying. All of these things, they need to get out there.
Yeah. It's so slow to get out
Otherwise,
there.
it means nothing, right?
Lose interest, right?
It's both parts. They probably,
man, is so like key, like to keep someone. Look, why do people invest into Tesla? It's probably 90% to Elon Musk. I'll be honest with you, like, or like a lot of big, because, you know, when he was going back and forth with Trump, there was this whole thing, him and Trump, and you saw a dip in the stock. It's like whatever he tweets or whatever view he has, it does have an impact on the stock. Obviously, they've realized there's a net positive. That's why they've kept him in there, and they gave him the funds they owed him. I think it was like,
I mean, you mentioned earlier about, like, you know, all of these listed companies spending X amount on, you know, all of these, you know, different things that they perceive is going to increase the share price, right? And then you mentioned, you know, a simple campaign on social media would probably do them better justice. It's the same for Tesla, you know.
Yeah.
You know, their most probably valuable cost is Elon on Twitter. You know, realistically, you know, it's the world we live in. You know, perceived value and actual value are kind of two very different things. You know, and I think if you are one of those entities that does have real value, you know, integral to what you're trying to do, and you can, you know, knuckle down on that perceived value as well, you're, you know, that's the only way to succeed, you know, in to get that big base of investors, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's also about. Go ahead, Hayden. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm just saying that they are scared. They are really scared because they have that's the other problem. They have their investor base right there in, and if they were to do something interesting like radical transparency, like bringing in a community member, doing a podcast with them, talk about some like controversial subject, they are so worried about their current investors dumping stock because of that. But they kind of missed the bigger picture that this would float really well with you guys, and so they are really hesitant to diversify their investor base.
And I fully agree. I think we've personally dealt with stuff like that, and it's like I get it. It's because that front stage, backstage. You have the backstage people who actually raise the financing for these companies, and they're talking to the investor, and they're selling a certain narrative, right? Whether it's in whatever country is in, they're selling this narrative, and it's like they don't want to change that perception of the company, and they want to keep it very corporate, and it's just like everyone's a robot. It's like that's how I feel like the mining industry looks like. Everything's just like, hey, press release, just do repost it, and it's like there's no like real. I can't tell you one CEO that I'm like, yeah, he's got real personality and he's inspiring. Like to be honest, I think that's what more and more I'm realizing is like, look, we're all trying to make a buck, but it's like, don't you think like following leaders or CEOs or founders who are inspiring you as a person, you kind of you always invest into the people. Like you feel like, yeah, like, out of 10 of them, 3 of them might do really well. And just the way how hedge funds work, right? It's like, you're going to take a bet on 10 companies. Okay, 1 or 2, 3 of them might, 2 of them might break even. One's going to make you back up the losses. But it's like, it's kind of like you're in this space. It's kind of like, where do you even put your money? It's like, it will just kind of correlate together with the market.
You know what I'd say? I mean, I think it's like, I'm sure we could, get the number down and work it out. But like, if I had to assume, I feel like, a very small chunk of the listed mining entities hold a very large percentage of the actual investment in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, the question then is, how, that's just credibility. That's purely credibility. Like, so how do you gain credibility without that history and track record, right? And I feel like in this day and age, the only way to do it is through, kind of content directly to the people that you're trying to win over, right? And the only way you can do that is social media. It's reels on Instagram, it's things on TikTok, it's things on LinkedIn, things on YouTube. That is what is going to give the credibility for the new era of investment, into these indexes.
Fully, completely agree. Yeah. And I think you touched on that, but it's true that many of the, you are correct. What I'm trying to say is many of the mining execs hold the most significant amount of stock, and they are the first to dump it when they know that they've oversold it.
It's the safe bet. It's the safe bet for any investor, right?
Yeah, and you actually see it every year after PDAC. In Toronto, it's so common. It's actually got a name. It's called the PDAC curse. And so all the juniors go there. They show a couple of cores, and they oversell. They say this is amazing. This is the best thing since sliced bread. And then people buy, of course, because they're dumb. And then a few months later, they just sell the stock. And so this is just the mining casino, pure and simple. And the C-suite of these companies are in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've been to plenty of these kind of smaller one-to-one investor, like one-to-one mining, mines money. I've realized that as well. It's like we touched on the last time. It was like you've got the lifestyle guys, you've got the the geologists there. Everyone's selling you something, but it's like, trying to cut through that noise is quite hard because you end up, meeting so many different personalities. And it's like, to me, the personalities that stick out are the ones who have great stories. And then I actually, after the event, I'd actually look into them and like, oh, you know what? I've met like 25 to 50 CEOs. Which ones really stood out for me? Okay, these guys. And the story, it's not just this story, but it's like you know, their previous history, you know, their exits, you know, how they've, you know, how are they going to develop this project, and is it feasible, in, you know, the licensing. But it's that initial, you know, the way they pitch is very important, because like I'm not interested in, hey man, we've got this great sample, it's great. I'm just like, hey, like, what is your story? You know, and that's what excites me, is like, you know, that side of it.
Who would you believe? You're an investor. Who would you believe? Somebody who's got a perfect deck and everything's roses, or a CEO is thinking, man, it's been really hard, man. It's really hard, but you know, this is what we're doing, and we're resolving these challenges, and you know, we see this progress here. But I won't lie, it's hard. So you know, I believe the same person.
So they want to see the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, there's got to be a kind of personal nature to it, almost, right? Which, you know, I can think of it in a few things, right? You know, that, you know, in my lifetime, you know, there's probably a few things that, you know, you trust because of the people behind it, right? More so than the kind of material involved. You know, especially in, you know, anyone that does invest in mining, you know, especially like, you know, any mine that's kind of raising on the back of a report, you know, or you know, it's speculative investing, right? Yeah. So, you know, you either invest on the back of figures and factuals, or you invest on the emotional aspects of it, which is always to do with senior management. You know, it's, do I think this guy I'm giving my money to will do well with it and make more money with it? You know, it kind of boils down to that, I think, more than anything nowadays. It's interesting.
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Hayden, it's been good. It's been good. You've been a great guest because I think we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, as they say. So it's like, you know, it's great to network and, you know, meet new people in the industry. And that's half the reason why we're doing these lives. It's like, we don't care if it, you know, it gets X amount of views or whatever. It's more like, you know what, we want to just do something different, grow what we're doing, grow a base, bring in, you know, younger audiences, and, you know, try to educate as we go along. And I think that's really important, especially in this industry. It's like, you know, trying to bring retail investors into this, but then also educating them at the same time is like a whole different ball game. It's like, you know, and also with us as well, we've had like, you know, tons of offers of certain, you know, mining companies I wouldn't name, but like we can say, even us, we can, you know, me, Liam and Baron, we can say this hand on our heart, like we won't work with just anyone. Like we would actually do our DD and be like, hey, actually our brand is at risk if we work with X person, because we don't believe that they're doing it for the right intentions. So it's like, you know, we only want to work with people we believe are genuinely like got a track record, who've got a great project on their hands and need that exposure. Like, you know, people who genuinely care about what they're doing. And, you know, that's the main thing.
Interesting. That's really interesting. I mean, you mentioned about the next generation saying that they care about the environment, but not really caring about the environment. But you actually take a different tack. You actually care about, you know, how it's actually done. And to be honest with you, I think one thing that really stood out to me, I'm personal friends with somebody who's got 500,000 followers. Geoscientist, very talented, works with big conferences around the world, including PDAC a few times. But I put this hypothetical question to her. You know, if a mining company came to you and said, here's a check for 100 grand, and she's like, that would change my life for sure, because she's not rich at all. 100,000, so that you could go and fly out, do a few videos, put a bit of branding, stuff like that. And she'd say, you know what? It pains me to say it, but no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, this will change your life. And she said, I know, but my brand, my account, is so important. People would unfollow me en masse. They wouldn't trust me. I lose all credibility, and that's more important. You know, and so that's weird. You have a broke, successful content creator doing due diligence on a 100 billion plus market cap company. That's all screwed up. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
That's where we are. That's where we are in the mining industry.
And no, I agree with you, Hayden. And on that point, it's kind of like we've had these discussions between ourselves, and it's like sometimes you just feel like, you know, just creating your own mining company because you're like, hey, like these guys, like, and that is exciting for me. It's like, you know, like maybe in the future, this is something we do, but not right now. You know, it's not where we want the agency, but it's like, you know, what, like, I would love to see more younger CEOs and like, you know, people who are, you know, more in tune with what, you know, with like what we're talking about as well. Like, you know, that like, you know, people who understand our generations, but also the older generation and know how to bridge that gap. And like, I just feel like it will happen. It's just naturally going to happen, right? It's just the way the world works. It's like, you know, we don't live forever. And, you know, there's always going to be new interesting figures to enter into the market. And there is time for like, you know, we are headed towards disruption. I think whether, you know, companies like it or not, like the acceleration of AI, robotics, there's so much new things coming around. And it's like, there'll be a time where, you know, people will be able to, you know, maybe satellite map out, you know, if there's actually anything there. So, you know, they probably won't get scammed. There'll be like some anti kind of, you know, hey, look, you know, this actually, the likeliness of this being a mine is 0%. Like we're coming to that age where we know technology is going to get to a spot where it's going to be like, you know, game changing. So it's like, I think we're in this short space of window where it's like, you know, it's the smoke and mirrors, but eventually once stuff starts getting tracked and, you know, there's like, you know, technology keeps increasing, it's gonna change the game. I honestly believe.
Yeah, I pretty agree. Guys, I have to go, unfortunately. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, okay? Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Aidan. Thank you for joining.
Take care, Aidan.
Thank you, yourself. See you soon.
Thank you. All right, just the three of us now.
Just the three of us.
The originals.
The originals.
Oh,
what was the latest news this week then? What's been happening in the news? Let's just recap.
Recap, right? Where can we go? Like, should we take it on a lighter note or a heavy note?
Heavy. Super heavy.
Heavy. Okay. All right, I know, man. Like this is yeah.
So obviously we had some news come out. I'll just jump straight in. Like, you know, we had some news, sad news. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. You know,
Charlie Kirk.
You know, whether you like his political views or not, it's kind of sad seeing a, you know, young, let's say, you know, Trumpism, conservatism.
And he's young. We're saying he's young, and bear in mind he's younger than everybody on this call right now.
Yeah,
it's 31. Things to think about, you know.
And whether you like his views or not, like I'm, you know, some things I agree with him, and some things I don't. And I ain't got the energy to put it out right now. But
yeah.
In general, it's like it's a scary time we live in, where like, you know, content creators, influential young people who do these kind of live streams, you know, if they say certain things, I feel like they feel threatened. And one thing I've realized is I went on X. I think it was when it happened, right? Obviously, saw the gory images, but I jumped into a few of these live streams, and there was a lot of these guys who are very influential, like, hey, look, we're not doing a public event because of what happened. So there's a lot of fear in a content creating community right now, where they're like, hey, look, I'm not going to expose myself, because especially in America, there is freedom of speech, let's be honest, like compared to where we are or other countries like, you know, the Middle East, etc. I feel like America does stand on freedom of speech much more than a lot of other countries, and it is really like in an inflection point where it's like,
that's in the Constitution, right?
Yeah, it's part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
So, you know, if freedom of speech is part, and look, we all believe in freedom of speech, but, you know, I think once you start hitting that political, religion, all of these, you know, are very hard-hitting topics, I feel like you're a target. And I feel like, you know, what happened to Charlie Kirk is very sad. You know, all prayers go out to his families. You know, he's a family man. You know, he promoted, you know, what was he promoting? He was promoting, like, you know, having kids young, like all these positive things.
Core American values, I think I would say, right? Yeah, it's a shame. I think, you know, regardless of your, you know, creed or, you know, what your views or opinions are, you know, I think no man deserves to get, you know, that treatment for being an influence or having views or whatever the case may be.
It's kind of some insane. Like, they've caught Tyler Robinson.
So
22 years old as well.
2 years old.
Child, almost, pretty much. Let's be honest.
Well, me and you talking about like how his dad was the one who gave him up.
Yeah.
A former like sergeant in the police force in Utah as well.
Oh, no way.
A serviceman. And apparently he dragged him to the police station, by force. Which is
fair place,
right thing to do for sure.
I think any father who's in that position, that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, we're all parents here, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can you imagine,
it's crazy.
What goes wrong, for a person to do something like that? It's crazy.
And that's one thing that mind boggles me. Is like what takes a person to kill someone else? The hate, that much hate
over their opinion, bro. Over their opinion.
Is it? Do you think it's the algorithm? Is it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
because
it's like every algorithms are different, right? So this guy must have been probably was obviously hated Charlie Kirk to do such a awful thing. But it's just I feel like it's a kind of like an audacity that I think is kind of exists everywhere in the world at the moment. I think the difference with America, the problem with the guy that done that to Charlie Kirk is he had access to a high-powered rifle within same day and was able to get it loaded and do it. It is that's something my honest belief, there are people in perhaps the UK that probably have the ideology to do that don't have the means or the framework that we have, right? Thank God for that.
Thank God for that, right? And I just it's I think there's another conversation coming following after this. Again, it's a conversation that's going on for a while now, but around the gun rights and the firearm rights in America.
They would put the guns up there.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, again, it's in the Constitution. It's not something that's really. It's such a tough one to debate. But I think the ideology is the main problem, though.
But in situations like this, like storming off a Capitol, everything like this feels like it's on the brink of a civil war. And right now, there's probably going to be a lot of people looking for retribution. Right.
They got one of ours, get one of their, but it's
you get one of theirs now.
You
just have a feeling instances like that are going to happen now.
It's funny you say that about the Civil War thing as well, right? Because if you kind of look at history, especially in America and Civil War, similar instances happen. Less widely publicized because obviously it's the 1800s, right? But there were people from the South going up to the North and picking people out that had different opinions. It is kind of. It's very similar. There's a lot of similarities for sure. It's a crazy time.
What a time to be alive.
Crazy time to be alive. But look, on a lighter note.
Yeah, on a lighter note.
I don't know. So Apple just launched their new product line. So we got the iPhone 17 Pro, the iPhone Air, Apple Watches, AirPod Pro 3. But, just the usual stuff. I think with iPhone 17, it's faster. It's longer battery life. It's the
coolest
inspiration.
Apparently, it's got some liquid cooling thing inside it. I don't know the exact technology, but apparently there's this little liquid cooling chamber that the problem everyone has, the phone gets too hot if it's doing too much, and then it shuts down. And that's the biggest. The biggest new tech in it, apparently.
Are you boys grabbing one?
My upgrade's in November, so I might have to,
right. W, go on in, bro. It's one of those ones. Don't you feel like these iterations of the phone, not much happens? They just improve a little bit.
Do you know what they've done? They just redesigned it a little bit. Obviously, its processor speed is better.
iPhone 15 was aluminium. iPhone 16 titanium. Then they've gone back to aluminium, but they've sold it as an upgrade.
Do you remember the campaign they did about titanium last year or the year before? And it's kind of it just goes to show, all these big companies,
don't believe them, Sam.
Don't believe in it. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I am. Look, Sophie said I'm buying.
Right, Sophie, as a sponsor, subscriber to the show, you should get us, 3 iPhone 17 Pros. That'd be really appreciated. Yeah, because I think also like the main thing that they're saying is that the cameras, right? That's the main thing, and right now I think makes sense. I think we were speaking to Sam at the office. Sam's got Sam Page, shout out. He's got crazy camera gear, right? Netflix grade 5K Ultra, whatever that they've used it for movies, but he's even saying like the iPhone 16 Pro Max and now this new one, it's got just as good camera, right?
I'm all over it because I think as we outliers what we're doing here. It's like this is just the start, and even me and Liam, we've had plenty of interviews coming up. Like this week we've had one, we've got more coming up. I'll just read the chat. I will do 17 for the crew. Okay, but yeah, no, it's like everyone's content is the only way. Like even this conversation we've had today, right? It's like it's the only way to reach masses, and as technology gets better, it's just like everyone's gonna get even more sucked into the phones. You know what I mean? Like it's just gonna glue you on to it's just gonna bring you into that matrix, and you're just gonna be stuck in the matrix even more. And it's like, how like you guys understand what I mean, right?
Yeah. So one of the things actually they've done, apparently the screen, like it's a lot brighter and has a lot more like. So that's just trying to get you.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's good. Canelo Crawford. I'm going Crawford.
Look, my heart says Crawford, my head says Canelo, but I'm going to go with my heart on this, man. I know, Crawford's he's an underdog, but
Crawford's good, man. I think Bud's got it in him. I feel like he's young. I feel like Canelo's been dodging it for a little while. I feel like Canelo's on his way out. He's just in for the paycheck right now, and I feel like Bud ain't been tested like that yet. So
we'll put your picks in now, and then next week we can.
I'm going Bud.
Yeah, go Crawford, man. Team Crawford.
Team Crawford. What are you going, Canelo?
Yeah, okay.
So Canelo. It's because you look like
Canelo. I reckon
Irish Mexican.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Canelo Crawford. Yeah, no, that's gonna be Crawford. Yeah.
Come on, chat. Put your picks in. Canelo Crawford.
Crawford the dog. Let's go.
Oh, he's in the chat.
Bud. Everyone's going for
Bud.
Nah, it's going to be interesting. Is boxing's like one of those things. Like I rate the way the Saudis have made these fights happen. They just put the money where the mouth is, and they bring in the biggest fights.
Oh, they brought it back, right? It was
got boring for a little while, didn't it?
Yeah, Tommy Fury fights. That's kind of like those initial stuff. The Riyadh fights. I think Dana White's now he's getting more actively involved, using the whole UFC model now for boxing. So look, I die hard UFC, right? Boxing, I've followed passively, right? But I feel like with boxing, the best hardly fought the best until the last few years now.
Yeah, I agree, but I think we need more of this. Who just had to fight that? I forgot his name. The young geezer from the UK who beat Dylan White. What's his name again? Someone in the chat said his name. He's the next one to watch. Dylan White got knocked down first or second round.
Moses.
Moses, that's it.
Oh Moses. Yeah, dude, he looked flawless.
Yeah, Moses looks great.
Scary dude.
I honestly think he's going to be like the world champ. Like I don't follow him that much, but I feel like he is a force to be reckoned with. The way he moves, he's like a fierce Mike Tyson vibes, but just more agile. Like no, maybe not actually. Tyson's prime was agile. Anything, right?
But he's. I feel like he boxes a little bit more. Or you know what I mean, compared to Tyson, but Tyson's just got that unique style, man.
Yeah. Not there's no Tyson. His style was impeccable.
Yeah,
impeccable.
All right, boys. Should we wrap it up? And then next Friday we'll be back. I think look, we're still working on the lives. I appreciate everyone joining in. tuning in.
Thank you, fam. I know, like, most of our followers are the family. We really appreciate you guys.
Mostly family and friends, which we
I really appreciate it.
You know, hope it wasn't didn't go over your head too much. We want the Musa story next time.
Let's do the Musa story now.
Do the Musa story.
Yeah, let's do the Musa story. So where should we start?
Where do we start? Once upon a time.
So, yeah.
Right.
Let's skip a few bits, but like let's just get in the core.
Yeah. So okay. So in a nutshell, right? So me and Umar have been sort of in and out of the cannabis industry for some years. So we met in the cannabis industry. We worked on a project in Africa for a company that didn't really know what they were doing. And yeah, a couple of years later, you know, COVID happened, all of that good stuff. And yeah, you know, the medical cannabis industry was bubbling away. So Umar, as you guys already know, more than likely, you know, went into the hemp side of things, done very well in Taunton, you know, was probably one of the few people that actually had, you know, something viable going on in the UK. I was working on
CBD brands as well.
Country Boys, Country Boys, Taunton Hemp, let's go, 100%, huge milestone. And then I was working on the THC, the medical side. I was consulting for some of the brands that we, you know, see here in Europe, you know, on their supply chain, you know, finding flower, selecting strains, bringing it to market. And yeah, it was always that age-old thing. I think Umar had the same thing with the people he was working with. I had the same people I was working, the same thing with the people I was working with. You know, if you want something done properly, do it yourself, right? You know, and you know, same with the kind of generation. You know, he was the youngest in his group. I was the youngest.
I remember when you know, the company you're working for was it Eco,
originally, yeah.
I remember like Liam was the youngest there, and I was the youngest there, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do this project in Pakistan, whatever?" And obviously, being a young entrepreneur, went for it, and you know, obviously done a few things there, like change the policy and all that stuff, right? But like me and you coming, you know, being like the young guns, everyone was like underestimating us.
Really. Yeah, so we got overlooked basically. Like we were the guys with all the bright ideas, and you know, it turns out our ideas are the ones that actually work in the industry. So like, you know, again, fast forward a couple of years, you know, we've had this kind of idea in our minds, kind of thinking, oh, you know what, we could always do this better ourselves. And yeah, I think kind of the way the world works, timing was perfect. It was perfect. I had problems with what I, you know, had going on. He had problems with, you know, he had going on. You know, it was all kind of coming to an end, and you know, it was kind of like two puzzle pieces, right? You know, all the kind of knowledge and experience and things that I could bring to the table were, you know, exactly what we needed, and then everything that Umar, you know, his knowledge, experience. And
I remember actually the reason why I rang you was literally because me and Baron were like, we need projects from any industry.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
literally, my introduction to Liam was, "Hey man, guys, I want to create a digital health clinic." And we're like, me and him were like, "Yeah, cool, let's do it."
We're gonna prescribe weed. That's the thing.
Liam started off as a lead, and
this is, to be fair, right? I don't think we're even there yet. So like, I think that like Varen's include, you know, this. So it's kind of a three-pronged thing. This, right? So you know, we've got, you know, me and Umar have now kind of come, you know, we're talking, you know, we kind of clearly see that, right? You know, us working together, what you could bring to the table, what I could bring to the table, we can definitely bring something to market. And just to kind of give you guys an idea, there's, you know, a handful of brands that are actually active in the market. You know, so it's quite a difficult thing to actually get something, you know, registered, you know, viable for the UK market under prescription, actually bring it to market, brand it, and things like that, right? So, but again, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You know, in this new day and age, you know, you can have the best products in the world, but if you're not branding it and marketing in it and packaging it in the right way, you know, you can easily get left behind, which is where the third prong comes in very well. So Varen's expertise, you know, which, you know,
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And look, I'll say this, you know, I genuinely feel like we've got one of like the best looking brands in the business, you know, and this is someone that's been in it from it was, you know, from the conception of medical cannabis in the UK, you know, 2018, and yeah. again, it's, you know, Varun's knowledge. So it's kind of like a three-pronged thing. So now we've kind of, you know, gone through, I'd say, the last 12 to 18 months, boys, you know.
Oh, it's been crazy.
It's been a challenge.
A massive challenge, you know. Varun's
honestly, looking at it from like, I've just been like Umar and Liam just driving. I'm sitting in the back seat like, yo, what's going on? Right. And it's the type of stuff that when it's all said and done, the docuseries is done, right, in the future, most people ain't going to believe like how things happen. The timing of stuff.
There's a lot of little stories, little
crazy stuff.
We'll leave for another time. But yeah, I think it's just a joint effort. I think, you know, one of the things that I've learned through this experience, right, is, you know, you could all have the best ideas in the world, all the best resources, but if you don't have that like common alignment and like, you know, joint vision, then it's never going to work. You know, that was the thing that, you know, me and Nick straight away from, you know, so we've got a mutual friend that kind of reconnected us, you know, kind of back into this. And yeah, the moment we jumped on a call, I think it was on the phone for like, you know, God knows how many hours. And the vision was shared, you know, and that was then my introduction into Varun, and, you know, we kind of went through these 3 different projects.
Guys, let me ask you a question, Liam and Umar, right? What is the vision?
The vision, right?
It's a hard vision because it's kind of like there is.
So the vision, I mean, in a nutshell, right? So I think, you know, I think what gives us the audacity to do this in the medical cannabis space, because let's be honest, you know, the guys that we compete with are big listed companies with lots of money behind them, all the resources in the world, you know. But I think what gives us a bit of an advantage is, you know, we are from that kind of cannabis culture. You know, I'm a patient myself, you know, like we understand quality. And it's like you see it in a lot of, you know, industries, like, you know, where mining, you know, wine, you know, like corporate, corporate and commercial kind of like, you know, easily kind of takes the run, but then the kind of cream that rises to the top is that kind of, I don't know what you call it, like connoisseury or like.
Sorry, on that topic, right? So quality, right? We know that quality in terms of like other players, what their perception and their perspective of when they hear quality, they think compliance, right? And all of the stuff around that. But, you know, I think, you know, Muzo is, you know, like quality cannabis, right? What is quality?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, you know, I think an easy way to put this is, you know, so, you know, the framework that we have to work within, you know, what we supply is a pharmaceutical product. You know, it goes through the same manufacturing process any pharmaceutical product goes through, you know, EU Pharmacopoeia, British Pharmacopoeia. But the raw material that we use is cannabis, right? So like, you know, from a quality perspective in a pharmaceutical setting, you know, it's very easy to tick certain boxes, you know, hit certain standards, and then you are a high quality pharmaceutical product. You know, anyone that actually, you know, has any understanding of cannabis, you're not going to care about that. You know, it's all to do with the raw material, the plant itself, the genetics. You know, there's a huge amount of factors that goes into making, you know, a good, you know, cannabis good or not. So yeah, and I feel like that is again what's kind of given us that kind of confidence to do it, because, you know, I think the one thing me and Umar can both say is, you know, we're very confident in our palate. You know, we know good cannabis, bad. You know, we've seen it all. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, we feel like we resonate with the patient. You know, we resonate with the market. Maybe, you know, more so than some of these big corporate companies that are, you know, looking at the commercials and the pharmaceutical side of it and et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately it's cannabis, you know. So yeah, I feel like we're kind of bridging that gap. You know, a lot of these people in the UK especially, you know, they rely on the black market because, you know, it's a mad thing to say, but you can get better quality weed in the black market than you can in the traditional pharmaceutical market. So we're here to bridge that gap, you know, and bring the quality that people are kind of used to here in the UK in the medical setting to, you know, grow the market as a whole.
We got like 3 products out in the market right now, right? Yeah, I'd love to, like, viewers would love to hear a little bit more about the products, and, you know, maybe some of them are familiar with cannabis or not, but yeah, maybe we could share a little bit about the products that are in the market and why we.
Yeah, sure. So they're flower products. So, you know, most people, you know, you might, you know, when you think of pharmaceutical cannabis, you probably think of some like, you know, crazy invention. Like, it's literally flower, you know, bud that you would smoke like if you got it off the street. Or yeah, you know, you vaporize, you know, just as if you got it off the street. yeah, like our kind of, I suppose, ideology of picking out the kind of catalog is again based on that quality, right? So like, we've gone and selected 3 strains, kind of covering a daytime strain, a nighttime strain, and kind of something in between, but kind of ticks the boxes in terms of quality. And when we talk about quality, we're more leaning towards, aroma, flavor, cleanliness, the entourage effect.
What's the entourage effect, guys?
So like, it's a good question. So, most, obviously cannabis itself is quite, the amount of clinical research, there's enough to say that it works, but I don't think there's enough there to kind of really know what's going on. So the kind of best indicator we have are people using it. So like a good example of the entourage effect is, most people, when they think of cannabis, the compound everyone thinks of is THC, right? So, your automatic assumption would be, it's really high in THC, it's going to get you really stoned. But like, what a lot of people miss is there's actually, 200 plus minor cannabinoids, THC, THCV, CBD, CBN, there's hundreds of them. So, each particular strain will comprise of I suppose, a cocktail of these different compounds. And then you've got terpenes involved as well, which are the, aromatic oils within anything. It's, terpenes are what makes an orange smell and taste like an orange. It's what makes an apple taste and smell like an apple. It's the same for cannabis. It has terpenes, which makes it taste and smell the way it does. So you combine, each cannabinoid profile, the THC, CBD, and all the other minor cannabinoids, and the terpene profile, and you've got hundreds of strains with completely different cannabinoid profiles and terpene profiles, and that profile together is what gives you the entourage effect. So you could have something that's on the label quite low in THC, but could be quite high in minor cannabinoids and terpenes, and it will hit you a lot harder than something that's higher in THC, if that makes sense. That is the entourage effect, essentially.
Yeah. It's not all about just levels of THC. There's like Liam said, there's like so many different chemicals and compounds that make up that bud structure. Like, there's so many things that are, other chemicals, cannabinoids, rare cannabinoids, etc. And like, even me, like, coming from the CBD side of the industry, it's like when you have a CBD product, whatever, anyone can access it. You can buy CBD on Amazon, right? So it's kind of like, but majority of it is isolated, so it doesn't have that effect of this full spectrum, which has other minor cannabinoids in there. Full spectrum just means that it's just not isolated. So the same thing with cannabis is like, yes, you can have something that's like 31% THC, but if it has 0 other added terpenes and cannabinoids, you'll have a different effect. And if you're it really varies. And one thing you've realized in Canada is like, because that's where we obviously the company we work with, Daicar Pharmaceuticals, who basically represent is we hear this all the time. We heard this today. It's kind of like, everyone out there just goes off high THC numbers. So that's where there's a little bit of a disconnect, where it's like, people care in different markets, people care about different stuff. In California, they probably care about the flavor profile and how it makes them feel. Whereas like Canada might care about, hey, we just want the highest THC thing that's going to put me into a coma. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like
on that topic, right? I've heard you guys say it. I've heard people that when we're having conversations with, like, UK, probably close to London or connected to the London community, would we say like we're the most stingiest and pickiest when it comes to cannabis?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. So like, I think, so you mentioned obviously London, so I can't speak for other cities. So, being from, London myself, like there's a lot of people, there's a lot of active
North London boy in the house.
North London.
Yeah. There's a lot of like active, there's a lot of entrepreneurial people, let's say, right? So like, what we found over the last 10, 15 years is, there's, we get the best of everything in London. There's guys out in California bringing Californian flowers, guys out in Thailand, guys out in Spain, guys out in, we get exposed to everything here, So yeah, that does add to like everyone's palate. You know, for example, like, you know, if we, you know, when you get, you know, it's like sort of eating a Michelin star for, you know, a couple of months and then going to KFC, you know, you're going to be a bit like, so that, you know, all of a sudden you've got all these things that you complain about that you never did before, right? You know, and I think that's kind of where the UK is at. I think where we've been so spoiled for choice on the black market, albeit very expensive, you know, it's kind of, got this kind of this, I suppose, connoisseur-y, fussy, smoker, you know, kind of culture that we're seeing.
So we're saying like Muso is Michelin star medical cannabis.
You know, look, let's, you know, we've got ways to go, right? But like, I think, but I feel like, you know, we can confidently say that we are, you know, bringing something to market that, you know, will entice, probably not the best word, right? But, you know, those people that are eligible for prescriptions, you know, perhaps already, you know, a patient with a clinic, but they kind of revert back to the black market because of what they have access to isn't quite what they're seeing before. You know, we feel like what we've reviewed kind of available, we're bringing something kind of closer to that mark. And that's kind of our mission. You know, we are solely a supplier to the industry in the UK. And you know, our mission is to always, you know, be that step ahead in terms of quality and develop standards, that, you know, standards, you know, and it's, it's kind of what you said, you know, it kind of stems back to our own preferences, you know, like we're fussy and, you know, we feel like we've got one of the highest, you know, benchmarks in terms of what can be produced, you know, in terms of cannabis. And we want to stand by that and what we bring to the market and kind of level up the medical game just as much as the black market and recreational game has, you know, over the last couple of years.
I appreciate that. And then one of the things I actually wanted to like get a little bit more like elaboration on, right, is obviously like me being on this journey with you guys, like one of the things that threw me off straight away was like the names of all the strains, the type of names. I'm hearing Skittles, permanent markup. Like, what is this, right? And now, obviously, you've got 3 strains in the market right now. Like, could you tell me a little bit more about the strain specifically? And, you know, for those that might have never been exposed to it, like, just a little bit more about, you know, just the strain specifically. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, sure. So, so the cultivars that we work with and produce with our partner in Canada are 3 cultivars. There's one called Suds, one called Gastropop, and one called Lemon Mac. Like, you know, it's. You know, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, you know, it's kind of like the starting point for us in terms of genetics, right? You know, we've kind of gone out and looked at what is kind of available to us, you know, in terms of what's being produced, you know, what's kind of available in the licensed producing companies and selected the best kind of producing flowers that we found. And the reason why we kind of selected those, right, is, you know, and even when we're kind of looking at our kind of producing partners is, you know, there's kind of a difference in, you know, in the medical market, you know, I think a lot of the genetics that are being used are kind of more old school. You know, these are kind of the traditional genetics we'd see, you know, in Amsterdam, you know, the Netherlands, and kind of creeps back into the UK sort of early 2000s, you know, late 2000s, sort of late 2000s, early 2010s, right? And then we've kind of like seen over the last sort of 10 to 15 years this kind of new wave of genetics. You know, there's been these kind of new generation breeders from California and Europe that have kind of developed this new, I suppose, flavor base, which is kind of most of the market now, rec or medical, you know, candies, gases, you know, that kind of thing. So like we kind of, it was kind of a dual pronged thing, you know, the producer was already cultivating these strains, and it was kind of like, right, the fact that we want to work with this producer is because your eye for what is current, you know, and, you know, they've kind of already got a bit of a handle on the kind of genetics that are, you know, there is demand for, you know, for self-medicators or medicators or whatever. And we kind of leaned on that. But I think, to be honest with you, you know, our main focus is that kind of V2 in genetics. You know, something me and Umar are working on now is, you know, introducing new genetics to the facility, you know, genetics that are even more, you know, kind of known and loved here in the UK. And, you know, we're kind of looking to produce those in a, you know, the licensed setting in Canada, get everything, you know, through the process to release it here as a medicine here in the UK. But yeah, that's kind of like where we're at.
We're essentially just a brand. Like we're just a brand.
Yeah.
We work with a licensed producer, just to be clear. Yeah. So
Muso
is the brand, and we're just here to help out with patients, pretty much, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think it changes. Like I think we're always going to be on top of kind of like what works for people. If there's things that we bring in and they work for people, we'll ensure that they continue to be available. And we're always looking ahead for kind of the new things that people are going to be looking for.
I've got a good question for you, Liam. Yeah. So what kind of you being a patient yourself, you don't have to touch on like yourself or why you medicate yourself, but if you think about like how many people are eligible and like what are the main type of patients that use cannabis? Are you
it's a good question.
Like what are the like ailments or illnesses or what's the reason for
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm obviously I don't have the exact numbers, but I think most I think it's safe to say I think majority of people that are using cannabis, it's either a chronic pain issue or a mental health issue, right? And obviously the mental health, both of those can cover a huge array of the specific of what it is. But yeah, for me, I'm happy to go into it. So I have ADHD, right? So before cannabis was legalized in 2018, I was kind of self-medicating for I suppose late teens, early 20s or whatever. No clinical evidence of it. It was just like you take Ritalin and you feel like this, and you take cannabis and you feel like this, and it's quite clear what works for you, right? And yeah, that was kind of like the kind of basis. And I feel like a lot of people that are prescribed cannabis kind of come from that ilk, right? I think NHS put out a figure that there's 1.8 or 1.7 million people that are eligible for cannabis. They've had the process with their GP or doctor or NHS or whatever. And they are eligible for it, but they just kind of haven't gone down that route yet. Whether it's for awareness or whatever the case may be. But it's usually quite the conditions that there's not a lot of kind of study around. So ADHD, things like that. Chronic pain, back problems. It's kind of like we don't really know, but this seems to work, so take that. So I think like the biggest kind of patient base and the main kind of elements that people use it for are those kind of chronic pain, mental health things, like people just sort of using cannabis in their day-to-day lives. They kind of worked out by themselves, and like now we're just trying to get those people out of the kind of black market setting into the more legal, cleaner, regulated setting. But you can only do that with obviously matching.
How do people get it? Question in the chat, where can we get it?
Yeah, good question. So there's a number of clinics in the UK that specialize in prescribing cannabis products. So literally a quick Google search, medical cannabis in the UK. So a couple of prominent clinics: Medica, Cure Relief, Cardiff Cannabis Clinic. These are all private telehealth clinics. You go through a quick eligibility check, and the main criteria for cannabis. So for me, for example, so you have to use 2 traditional medicines for a condition, and if those medicines don't work for you, you are then eligible for what we call in the UK as an unlicensed special, which is what cannabis falls under, or medical cannabis. So to give you an example, if let's say you had some back pain and you were prescribed a painkiller, and maybe there were some side effects, didn't work for you, and then they maybe tried an alternative painkiller, didn't quite work for you. You are then within your right to Google a medical cannabis clinic, one of the ones I just mentioned. You'd be eligible. You have a private consultation, and then you're prescribed on a monthly basis. So it's actually really easy to get access to it, and it's actually quite cheap as well now. Some of these clinics are offering consultations and scripts for £20 a month.
I would say it's more easy than getting an appointment from your local GP, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean it works as well. Like we speak to patients and, people, sort of, either using cannabis or have you, or whatever the case may be. And, the reason what gives it such a drive and the reason why it's like one of the biggest emerging markets in the UK is because it works, we hear, success stories from patients, week in, week out of, it's changed their lives. It's given them a kind of new lease of life, or, taken away, even a side effect from an existing medication that kind of hindered them that is no longer there, sleeping better, all these things can just have a massive impact on your life. And yeah, we're kind of seeing now that the kind of clinical studies are catching up to it as well, which is good. So yeah, easy to get hold of. Anyone that's kind of looking at it as an option, a quick Google search would point you in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, and I think also on top of that, like the whole stigma around it, I think it's starting to change quite a bit now, and I think it's on the back of it having a platform now, changing people's lives. As you mentioned, it's going through this type of patient experience, and I think it's also up to us as patients and those connected to the industry to also share those stories and get people more informed, right?
That is the main thing. It's like, education is so important. I think there's a big stigma, like, even like for Muslims as well. It's like, oh, is it halal or is it not? It's kind of like, look, if you're taking opioids and your doctor gives it to you, it's halal. So it's like, what is the case? It's medication at the end of the day. If it helps your back pain or, your ADHD or whatever it is, it's kind of like this. These are the things I went through, during when I was in Pakistan, that they were like, oh, but like, we just want to export. But I'm like, hey guys, you're missing out. Like, it's actually a medication. Treat it like, your morphine's it's not as even strong as those. Do you know what I mean? It's like way weaker. It has way more benefits for, even people coming off opioids who, want to.
Yeah, so interestingly, you talk about the opioids. So like, America, so obviously the UK's maybe, we're a little bit, early to the party compared to like America and Canada, with regards to like, some sort of legal framework for cannabis. But they're the things that you see straight away. So like Canada's a good example for it. These are stats that you can go and see online. Now, when they legalized cannabis, medicinally at first, and they kind of moved into recreational, but yeah, opioid dependency went down, domestic violence, drunk driving, there's a huge array that, it's kind of proven to be beneficial for. But yeah, again, in most countries, you need that clinical data, it has to be backed up, it can't just be, kind of, witch doctor kind of style, it's got to be prim and proper, which I think is kind of what we're getting to. There's a lot of, great companies doing a lot of great work in the kind of research side of things, which is kind of really giving us the drive and the, the kind of ammo to do what we do. Right. But, yeah, it's interesting. But it does, ultimately help, I think, which is why I think it's just giving it the traction, I think.
And I think there's a big push for natural medication anyway. So, like, if you look at like how people, like Baron, we talk about longevity clinics earlier on, etc. And it's like people want to live longer. They don't want to go to the traditional pharmaceutical products that they've been offered. Maybe it doesn't work for them. It might give them a different side effect. And it's like, it's as natural as it can get. So it's kind of like, we're in an age where people have supplements. You get all your vitamins, your electrolytes, and creatine, whatever you're on. It's just like, it's that natural element of stuff. And that's what I really like to focus on. Is like, it's great that you can, get something that's like a plant. And most of these, literally every, a chemist would know, like most of these drugs that are formulated, they're pretty extracts from plants, and then they're, synthesized or isolated and compounded into X, Y, and Z. So
you look at lansoprazole, that's like 66% peppermint, right? So
yeah. I mean, the same with saying opium. It's morphine. Any morphine formulation. It's starting. The raw material of it all is a plant grown in the Middle East. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's definitely like a shift in like everyone's, mentality towards like
You guys
natural.
can do a show about cannabis and more about Musa Liam, very knowledgeable.
Don't you worry, Aftab. We're getting warmed up on the cannabis talk. We're just getting
Muso Liam a follow and Muso Health, guys.
Now, how have our views gone up? I said like
cannabis is more interesting than mine.
Probably. Also, people are probably in bed right now thinking, "What are these guys talking about at this late hour?"
William literally pitch dark in front of his laptop, like just chilling, and that's what it's about. It's like you know what it is. It's like it's with these lives. One thing you realize is, it's nice when you put together like a live and there's no cuts, right? It's just straight up raw, and pause. Yeah. you know. But like it's just interesting when you have different perspectives. Like like how Gene came on the show, right? And he didn't understand.
He was also aware
about.
That's crazy, though, right?
Literally, it opened up that conversation of what we've been talking about since we've gone into from Outliers perspective into the industry. Like people don't even understand it like at that age, but it's same as like medical cannabis. It's like it's a gap there as well. It's like the older people who have seen it as, hey, is it drug addiction, is XYZ, like people most of the time I've realized I always hear these stories that people say, oh, this guy is because he smokes weed and he's messed up, but then you realize that guy's on harder stuff and the weed is just like not the thing that actually in the nicest way to put it. And you see this time and time again, and it's like cannabis genuinely it probably does have addictive properties. I don't have the fact that I don't. Of course. Like everything is like anything. Yeah, of course. Yes, and it depends on personality traits. Depends what you use it for. But it does definitely have medicinal properties. What people genuinely like, that's the main reason they're going to it. A lot of people probably smoke medical or recreational cannabis because they're dealing with some sort of stress, anxiety, ADHD that's undiagnosed. They don't understand why they're even why they're so drawn to cannabis, but they have to consume it to get rid of that feeling, right? That's what they're trying to do. And it's like, everyone, if someone goes, smokes a joint somewhere down the street, everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, what's that? Oh, yeah, it stinks, mate.
Yeah,
what I mean? So then you can have a bottle of beer and get,
like
right now, Friday night, where we are, is like, if Bob Marley smoked, we look at his catalogue. Exactly. Yeah, nice. But it's true. It's like, like if you really think about it, it's like, but no one would have bat an eyelid if you had a can of beer in your hand and you were walking down the street with a cigarette in your mouth. Everyone would just be like, oh, that's normal. But as soon as you put a bit of cannabis,
I was staying at what's the Winchester Hotel?
Cool.
The ones that we've stayed a couple of times at.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it's called though.
Yeah. So even that, I was outside. I even walked away from like pretty far distant. Voco, thank you, bro. Right at the Voco Hotel, great hotel. Shout out. But basically, I just kind of walked towards the tail end of the car park, just making sure I'm out of people's way, right? Because even though as a patient, you can technically have it anywhere outside, right? I was still just conscious, just making sure, just having a bit of respect for the people that are out there, right? And so I vaporized it, and next thing you know, I've actually had like people walking past saying stuff, and it was just like it was such a surreal experience. And usually I pay it no mind, but I feel like it's going to happen. It probably happens regularly. It's going to happen a lot more regularly.
Yeah, I think that's a geographical thing as well. Like I think, I don't know what or why that is, but like that's definitely more of a Winchester problem. Like
I think. Well, is it right? Because they're staying at a hotel, right? They might not be from Winchester, and I just feel like it was one of those situations where I had to stand up and be like, "No, I'm a patient. This is my medication," and they were just so baffled. They were like completely baffled. And you just had to like.
I think a lot of people don't know that it's legal.
Yeah,
they don't. No, they don't.
So we were in London recently. I medicated, and we were obviously in central London, and Yeah, no one seems to bat an eyelid. You know, it's
used to the smell down, especially like north.
Yeah, it's like I think it's more of a geographical thing. Yeah. I think 100%. But you do see I notice the difference. But the point is though, you should be somewhere where you should, it shouldn't be a thing.
I think it's because it's just the smell. It just smells really strong. So I think it puts people off because their perception is, oh, it's a drug. Right?
That's what it is. You go to the old Frank advert, the guy driving in the car. And it's quite embarrassing. This is like a government-funded organization kind of telling, kind of really demonizing the people that smoke cannabis. And lo and behold, 10 years later, it's proven to be, more effective than opioids for, chronic pain. It's funny the way things work. So I think, but again, I think the way the world's moving, I think that's more the older generation thing as well. I notice it day to day, and wherever I am, it's that older generation that kind of have that kind of perception of it still. And I feel like the kind of mid to younger generation kind of see it more in a better light. So hopefully as the years go on,
keep talking. It's got 15 views.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's get 0 on it. But
we definitely
it's a fascinating. I think ultimately no one knows where it's going to go, but I mean we're going to make it our mission to try and change that perception, bring as many eligible people away from the black market into a legal, regulated, safe setting, and still provide them with the same thing. We're one of them in the same way. Well, me personally, we speak to them directly. What they want is what we want. So it's kind of I think we're all kind of moving towards that together.
What else you got for us, Varro? Keep going.
Mate, we've been going for 3 hours now.
Yeah, what? It's a streamathon.
That'd be the record for the last
one. That
is the record.
But I think it's cool because we're getting some practice rounds in. You know what I mean? We have to get these practice rounds in, and
like Crawford, mate.
What do you want to talk about, Varro? What's on your mind? You come back from holiday.
Oh, mate, holiday. That was a rough one, right?
Yeah, no, you
got attacked by mosquitoes. And then, because I've got that sweet blood.
After like Joe Rogan show.
Like Joe Rogan show.
That's what it's like. I think that's what draws people.
I think we have to have on the next ones.
Mining is a topic got us into this live, right? But we visioned.
We've got so much to talk about.
Is hey, let's just freestyle it, enjoy it, share our personalities, let people know we're real.
We want to talk about things that we care about, right? Regardless if they're varied topics, like people like myself, Umar, Liam, we've got broad knowledge and multiple depths of knowledge, right? I think even today, someone on LinkedIn made a comment around.
Please read it out. Read it
out. Oh, yeah, okay.
Kids, let's put him on blast.
Let's put him on blast.
We're going
to have to put him on blast, actually.
11 o'clock.
Hold on, I'm going to share the screen as well. Just don't troll him, guys. Just don't troll him,
Nah, he means well. I think he just used ChatGPT to come up with a prompt.
Oh, he definitely came up with ChatGPT. All right. So here we go. Over here. So obviously, me and Umar, we didn't have a lot of time. Just quickly, let's put something out, Hold on, where is it? There it is. We just quickly typed,
Look, we're new to this live stream stuff, right? The young generation have perfected it. You got people like Aisha Speak, Kai Sanat, Aiden Ross. We're not trying to be that, degen market where we're going into the live betting or whatever. We might do some live trading one day. You never know. Catch me on some live trades. We might lose some money for everyone. So we could end up there. But it's just go on, hit us, Farron.
Look. We just want to talk about things that we care about, right? And topics of importance, and they will be varied because we're a multidisciplinary team with crazy different perspectives, crazy different experiences. And we've got multiple businesses, under this brotherhood. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But yeah, long story short, before jumping on, me and Uma like, oh damn, we got to put a post out quickly, just let people know, you know, AI robots folding laundry. Didn't touch that topic. Maybe do it for next time. Apple AirPods live translation, Anglo-American merger. Didn't touch that topic either.
No,
and then UK medical cannabis, right? So just wrote that topic. No, shouldn't hurt anybody's feelings.
I shouldn't.
But then we had this gentleman here.
Zoom in, Byron, so I can read
Yeah,
it.
let me just zoom in. All right, hold on.
Give it a little zoom.
Ah, there it is. Hold on, Anton. I'm going to put you on blast. I thought we were mates the way you were DMing me.
How are you coming out like that? With all that
Yeah,
energy?
I think it was. He thought I was an investor going to invest into his business, but you know, he just didn't. He didn't make the cut.
Uncalled for. That's uncalled for.
Uncalled for. You know, people spreading hate. We're back to spread love, right? But it's just, you know, sometimes you got to stand your ground. But gentlemen like this, you know, topics are intriguing. Guests sound solid. And then you can see the hyphen, right? So ChatGPT generated, mate. Use your own thoughts. But the post reads like a headline dump with no connective tissue. Well, me and Umar like these topics, so that's a connective tissue. AI, AirPods, mergers, cannabis, all in one list, but no context on why or how they'll be discussed. Or tune into the show, mate. If the goal is to grab attention, fair enough. Yeah, it kind of is. That's the whole point of doing a post, you moron. But if you want people to actually tune in, it helps to clarify what's being explored and why it matters. Well, I just told you what's being explored. Right now, it feels like everything everywhere than a focus session. Like, what good is that? There's no good from that. But then, you know, I had to come with a little bit of, you know, I had to be politically correct because, you know, I wanted to tell him, like, you know, politely F off, but, you know, my LinkedIn network's going to see it as well.
Nah, you got to be professional on LinkedIn.
Oh, I was somewhat professional.
Not live, though. Live, you can do what you like. You know,
yeah, but hey,
who's going to fire you, bro?
Yeah, I just said it straight. Never know, innit? Appreciate the unwarranted feedback. Goal is for myself and Umar to talk about interesting things with interesting people like Liam. Tune in, tune out. We're still going to turn up.
Antoine. That's what we need. That's an L.
Yeah, and then, you know, side note.
You're not even in the space yourself. Like, at least we're trying.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? And then it's that last note. If Jake Paul said this, right? Not Jake Paul, but Logan Paul, KSI, I Show Speed. If they told us, I'd listen, right? But on that final note, you know, I've always believed you should only take advice from those who actually achieve what you're intending to do, bro. That's it. Just have a little.
Everyone's right. We're streaming till the wheels fall off, and that's how you build something. Like, we just had this. I don't know. It was like Baron. What we were talking. We were just like, you know, obviously we did the webinar. It's 2 a.m. at night. I was like, you know what, Baron? We need to just do a mining webinar. This is just all long. And then, you know, there was mining on. Then I think I rang you on a Tuesday. I was like, bro, every Friday we should just do a live. And now we're here. Like, Liam,
and we're going to carry on.
Yeah. Like, we're all here, and I'm sure we're all going to be, you know, talking our shit, as they say. And I think I actually prefer it when it's like not so concentrated on. Like, do you know what? I actually enjoyed the debate earlier because it was kind of like very educational, right? But now it's like way more relaxed. It's you know, it's just us guys and we're having a conversation. So it's kind of, you know, it's
Do you reckon if there was a couple extra zeros on the view count, we'd be talking and acting completely different?
No,
keep it.
I don't know, man.
I know how we are these low level data, and then when it's 150k or whatever.
Listen, you got to start somewhere, man. Joe Rogan didn't start on, like, you know, you know what I'm saying. But we're not saying we're trying to be like Joe Rogan. We're just trying to build out our personalities out, and we don't give a flying.
No, we don't. And look, the conversation
about Friday night. Do you think we might get, you know, a bit more attention if it was a bit midweek or earlier on in the week? Because Friday night is
I think so, but do you know what it is? It's kind of like these streamers, they stream bloody every day. They're fine. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we're
can't do that.
That's what I'm saying. Every day, like every day.
Not every day. But you know what? Like, think about it, Liam. Like, how many people go out? But do people go out clubbing and crazy now? No, most people are in bed right now. I guarantee you, whoever's watching this, you're in bed on a sofa, you're just on your phone, right? So
the people we want tuning in.
We want you guys.
We want the people.
No, we want the people who are like the homeboys. We like the homeboys. Like, listen, you're gonna tune into a random, you know, just support the brothers. You know, if you like, and we are seeing growth. Like, you know, the numbers are always going up. Like, thank God, this will get a few viewerships, and you have to invite guests in to, obviously attract different audiences, and so you have to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Oh, that's a task and a half.
I know this has got to go in. I can.
No, but you know what it is? I think if you really want to, I think nowadays social media and live streaming is where it's at. It's like podcasts are great, but it's like, people want that raw, uncut footage.
Mm-hmm.
Pause, but you know what I mean. They want it just like how it is. They don't want it cut up.
Like an NCP and just put them in the background.
No, you know what I want to get
more views. Just get someone in the background, just doing emotes.
No, but you know what I want to get is like when you can have that DJ button, like you like bring on. Yeah, we definitely want to bring on more interesting people. When you make the noises like ding,
maybe it'll work. I don't know.
Well, I think it's got it on there, mate. Hold on.
You got a little like.
Oh.
Yeah, Barry, you got stuff. When someone says something like that, you need to come in with those little syllables.
You know what we need as well? We need like Joe Rogan's got, what's his name? The guy that's with him.
We have got him. His name's Ibra. He just don't turn up. He's at home right now. he should be opposite the office. Right there.
Jamie, that's what it is.
Jamie, we need a Jamie. That's what it is. We need a technician.
Yeah.
Listen, up.
That's what we need.
I thought the Undertaker was turning up.
Yes, bro. Yes, bro.
Hey, give it whoever's in the comments, man. Give the YouTube link or give us some shares, man. Let's try to get this at least to 20 viewers. Come on.
Ibra.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Work on that.
Maybe that's how we get the views. We're not turning off this live until we get 100 views. We'll stay here however long it takes.
Oh my God. We'll be here all night.
We'll be here for like 5 days, and we'll probably go viral from these cats haven't slept for 5 days. And
but this is how
this man's beard grow over a week.
Yeah. Well, let's actually look at some topics, right? What is trending right now? Let's have a conversation. I think like off topic, like pull something out. This is practice hours now. What's a good topic to talk about? Hey, someone throw something in the chat. Like just throw it in the chat, and we'll ask us a question. If Fight Night streamed, oh yeah, that'd be lit. You know what? Gaming live. I think we should do that one day as well. Battering each other on Fight Night. Yeah. Let me just see what's going on X. You know what? X is an arena of absolute nonsense.
I think it's a bit of a cesspit now.
It is a cesspit. Look, I'll guarantee you're going to see it.
Like the content.
The thing is, half the stuff I don't even want to mention because I'm just like, this stuff does not make any sense. People are going absolute wild online. I think, Man United. Varun, Man United.
Oh God, yeah, I've got. Where is it? Why is it here? Lee, we won't go too much into this rabbit hole, but the GOAT for United.
Rudy's a GOAT.
Rudy saw my mate the other day. Said he saw the white Pele. But guys, quick one actually.
And this is actually a mad one. I've just seen some news saying Saudi Crown Prince vows to retaliation against Israel after the Qatar attacks. Ooh, that's interesting. That ain't gonna happen. Anyways,
China, that was a bit insane.
Imports, export. Here we go. Look, gold news. China proposes rule changes to ease gold imports and exports. So this is what's happening as well. There's this whole thing going on with China, America. It's been going on for a while. It's about precious metal, gold, and all of the rare earth minerals, right? It's like, the guys who've got hold of the rare, like China basically controls 80% of the supplies, what's in your phones, etc., etc. So it's like, it's interesting where the market's headed. That's why we're so glued to while we're into this mining industry, it's kind of like, hey, look, there's a play here. It's going to go absolute berserk. Like the market's going to go crazy for like good projects. So, laws, regulations are changing. We're seeing, a big shift in power right now in the world. 100%. It's just like you see the east and the west, and it's all going off. But that's a discussion. More followers.
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole. That's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't even want to get that rabbit hole. I want to find something funny, but the thing is, my X algorithm is just full of politics.
Hold on. I tell you what, had it on the show notes, yeah. And it might be like a random topic, yeah. But
we're 19, we're almost hitting 20. Come.
All right, come. So basically, yeah, there's a company called Figure, right? So I'm talking about like proper robotics, iRobot shit. And
iRobot, I like that.
Yeah, but like, you know, like, so Tesla's got Optimus too, right? So they're pivoting now, right? Nobody like EV, like the cars are just all stagnant, right? So it seems like Tesla like now just kind of focusing on Optimus, right? But people are more aware of it, you know, because of Elon, because of Tesla brand. But Figure are like a dark horse that are just coming in.
Would you have a robot in your house?
So check this, yeah. I don't know. After watching iRobot, I don't know, man. I wouldn't trust it.
Nah, but what if it cleans your dishes, does all the like house chores?
If it did it efficiently, right? So like, if you look at technology, right, you're either going to use it if it does it like 2 times faster, or it does it 2 times better, right? That's the reality of it. Or you're just going to do it yourself. But check these two.
Just flick it through it. I don't know if it's copyrighted or what. So just
who cares, man? We're not famous anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, you're gonna ask them now to put these both away, yeah?
The missus doesn't have to do no shopping anymore. Pack stuff.
They're just gonna put them away.
What does it do? Just like pick
it's
it
too
up.
slow, bro. Look at this.
That's what I mean. You just
I'll do it myself.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it myself.
What, in like 5 seconds? By the time it opens a fridge, you've already packed it away.
But this is the start of technology, right? Give it
Agreed.
5 years.
If you're in another room and it's just doing that, would you really notice how slow it is? You just come back 10 minutes later after doing what you're doing and everything.
But Liam, you're spending like 25k on one of these robots.
25k.
It's more than minimum wage. You get a real person for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really and truly.
You would spend 30k for it to be slow. That's true. That is true. Like, why would you want a slow robot? That's so slow. Like, turn this video off, man.
This is not slow motion, guys. Yeah, this
We're
is
losing
like,
viewers watching this.
It's literally like.
Bro, what is it doing?
But they do little cool things, right? So they make them look at each other. Look here. Yo, what are you saying?
Trying to make
bro?
you. Yeah.
That's so 30k.
Oh yeah, give me one of those.
Look at you.
Yo, no, watch this. Watch this. Watch him put the ketchup. Watch him put the ketchup. Like, oh.
Nah, that's too slow. What's it trying to do?
Good lad.
Good lad. God, it's like trying to tell one of your kids to put something away.
Yeah, bro. But this is the shit. This is the stuff they're demoing now, right? They're trying to show like, yo, look at our world-class
loads of money.
folder. Like, just look at it fold.
Have you seen the robot walking the dog? That's cool. Have you seen that?
Nah.
Robot sprinting like 40 mile an hour, like with this German Shepherd or whatever. It's mental.
Get used to it, boys. It's the future, boys. It will be robot.
What, this one?
Yeah, like the robot
taxi. I see a few of them.
Like when I went to San Francisco, they had the Waymos. I swear to you, I was driving around and I just see, you know, they have the radars on top of them, and it's crazy. They're just like driving by themselves.
Yeah. You know, Waymo
in San Francisco. Like, I jump in one, probably yes, because like on my car, I can literally press. It doesn't do the same thing as a Tesla, but it's like, you know, the fact that it does
with your hand on the steering wheel.
Yeah,
we will drive.
It's probably it is safer in the sense it's got the sensory, you know. But like once we get to that level of technologies like that,
but then it goes into the concept. This is like, I think one of the good questions. You know, like we spoke about iRobot earlier, right? And I think the big question that comes out of that film is, if there was, let's say, you know, robot police, robot, everything, right? You know, and it's got to make a decision to like save a life or take a life. You know, how does it do that? You know, like.
But dude, you're looking at it now, right? So like, think about the number of suicides that have happened on the back of people getting advice from ChatGPT.
No way.
Yeah, dude, like it's becoming a regular occurrence, right? Because people are seeking advice from it, and you know the models are susceptible to, especially like prior updates, to kind of tell you what they think you want to hear.
But a vulnerable person, it would definitely come across as like a figure of authority, almost, right? Like,
No, for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can see how that might happen.
Like, I think they got to just have human controls at every pivotal checkpoint, right? Like, it's a tricky scenario. Like, I know, like, what we're looking at right now is robots that move at the pace of a snail, right? But yeah,
I think it was really scary. Like the other day, right? While we're on the topic of robotics and AI and stuff, right? So like, it was like those like humanoid robots, like super, human like, and it like malfunctioned a little bit, and it was like screaming, like saying like, this thing. It was very like, it's a scary time. Like, I'll be honest with you, AI kind of scared. Like, it's like the fear of the unknown, right? Like,
what's
really how far it can go, how much it can influence our day-to-day life now, and
Skynet is a real potential, right? Like that kind of notion. But like Umar was talking about Waymos, right? So it's crazy. I think Waymos like have more rides than Uber and I forgot the other one that they use there, Bolt or something like that. Lyft, right? I think they have a lot more rides than that. But then people were kind of sharing the bad experiences that they've had with Waymo. I think one guy got into a car
around in a circle.
It just went around for 2 hours and never took a left turn. Like, imagine you're in a car and this thing, and also like every Waymo, right, is not fully driverless. I think they have these almost individuals at a hub, and each individual is responsible for controlling 4 vehicles, right? But even they could not help the passenger for 2 hours. That's so crazy. You're going around, only taking a right. It's a 5-10 minute trip by car. You're in the car for 2 hours, and it's just going around. That type of situation is going to be common because it's code. Like, think about when we use any type of app, software, website, and it malfunctions.
There's definitely going to be like loads of cases where I probably missed out half the conversation you guys had about like the decision making of when to take human life or not. To save is kind of an interesting point.
So like there's an interesting story up in Scotland as a data center, and like I can't remember where. So I'm sure you can find it online. But it was like one of the because everyone's worried about AI becoming conscious and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is very unlikely. But so there's a really interesting story up in Scotland. There's a data center in the North Sea, right? And it is controlled by AI. There is a bot, whatever you call it, a model which runs this whole thing. And out of nowhere, right? No one told it to do this, but it started to read the weather, and it saw a storm coming, and it believed that it could wipe out the data center. So it went into survival mode by itself. No one told it to do this. It just thought, I'm going to die if I let this storm come or whatever. And it moved, it hacked into another data center in France or somewhere, some other European country, and moved all the data over.
No way.
Yeah, to kind of save the data center. And no one asked it to do it. They just done it all by itself, which is, I don't know if it's scary or impressive. It's like it's a weird.
It's both, isn't it?
It's a bit of a weird one, right? But yeah, it's worth looking into. There's a good story. I remember watching something about it, and it's really interesting. And it's quite recent. It was like last year or something. And imagine your car thinking one day this car's a bit close. Let me just do a 180 into the or whatever. It's a interesting conversation to have, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Not trying to scare everyone, not like turn off your chat GPTs and but it's an interesting story though.
Yeah, but how much access does chat GPT have to your personal data is also interesting as well. How much does it actually? That's an interesting topic.
We don't know, right? Like, if you look at without going into too much, because I don't know if we could get sued and stuff, right? But like you look at like certain employees of well-known well-known models, right? They basically were whistleblowers to an extent, and then now they're not here, right? So I feel like Pandora's box has been opened, It's everybody's, you know, Oppenheimer type situation. It's a AI arms race, right?
Yeah.
And most of these big companies know that it really comes down to like they're going to either whoever innovates first, whoever creates the biggest, the baddest, they're going to win.
But like that is scary though. The thought of like a supercomputer just being able to hack like everything.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Why do you think those kids? But think about this, right? Those young kids that hacked M&S, right? Like,
oh yeah, go through the story, like for the people who like the viewers, the 14 viewers who haven't heard about it.
Yeah, so M&S got basically hacked by some teenagers.
Who's M&S? In case people are.
Oh, Marks and Spencers. It's like a prestigious, like UK supermarket chain. You know, it's one of the, you know, more premium known. You know, you would imagine that they wouldn't really cop out on their cybersecurity or their IT, right? And essentially, like these young kids, who are, you know, quite literate, you know, savvy on coding, but then you arm them with AI, they're able to bring down a $1 billion company, and which is pretty much going to be feeling the effects of that hack for the next, I think, 18 months still. On top of that, I think Jaguar Land Rover got hit recently as well. I think more is going to come out on that, but yeah, they basically got hit by some cybersecurity breach. I think a big part of that is why these organizations, you're arming like really good hackers now with AI. That's like, and they can get past like cybersecurity of huge enterprises.
Yeah,
like that's going to become more and more common.
No, for real. Like, how long were they down for?
Who's that? M&S.
Yeah,
Look, M&S were, I think, their till operations like were gone, like I think for a few days / weeks, but it's the corruption, the loss of data, everything around that.
You know, their database of suppliers, couriers, SKUs, you know, batch expiry dates, everything's gone. You know, like this, yes, crazy. Yeah, it must be one of the biggest supply, like food and produce in the UK. It must be one of the biggest supply chains that exist. M&S, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, you know, Ocado.
And 3 teenagers crippled them. Like, that's the power of it, right? And now that's just 3 teenagers. Now we think about the cyber war that's happening, right, on a mass scale. Like, yeah. It's
people who are in charge right now. It's all AI driven. You know, everything AI and
it's the technology companies, though, isn't it, Umar? Like really, like you know, like how you were talking about earlier around the notion of like what happened with Kirkman, right? Like Tyler, the assassin, right? Essentially, like his social media, everything around that, like. We are aware of the personalization on social media. It will keep giving you content that you like more and more, and all of that type of stuff. But like, who has that power? It's the technology companies, right? We're aware of like the technology companies and, you know, Meta, how they, you know, Obama leveraged that to get into power, right? So did Trump, right? And it's just that
on Twitter. I remember it as clear as day. It was like, as soon as Elon got involved with obviously the campaign, it did definitely boost it, because I think, you know, it was very close. And then that shows how social media is such the most powerful tool there is right now. Good for good and bad, like, you know what I mean? It's like but it does develop echo chambers as well. I think me and Lee discussed earlier. It's like a lot of echo chambers. You know, it goes back to your algorithm. Whatever you're going to boost, you know, whatever it feels like it's the trending topic in what you interact with, it's just going to push you that way. And I think there needs to be more control in that respect. But it's kind of like, you know, you should have the freedom to follow whoever you like. To be honest, because everyone, like, you know, for instance, my ex is like people I follow just to get news on like stocks or politics or whatever it is, right? But to be honest, I hardly use it anymore. I'm more interested in posting like trading ideas or things we're doing, and rather than even reading it anymore, because I'm like, this is not like what I came here for. You know what I mean? I just want really good, valuable information. That is like, that's the stuff I like. Is like, when it's like something, hey, this is, here's a chart of XYZ, and this data correlates to this data. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you get those tweets that are really helpful, and you're like, okay, that actually makes sense. Like, let me see.
Like one thing that I found, like especially on social media now, right, is like, dude, like content quality is really weird right now. A lot of it is like so like AI generated that like this is also why I actually like what we're doing right now as well, because like we ain't AI generated yet, right? I think there is something that Mr. Beast, because of the amount of videos he's done, they've trained his own AI model. And I think he was on a call, a stream with someone like Aiden Ross for about an hour, and Aiden didn't clock that was a AI model.
No way.
Yeah, it is like, but you can imagine like that happening more and more.
Oh, look, I'm pretty sure I get a spam call every day, and it's an AI bot, 100%. Like I've seen it so many times that like I get a call and it's like, this is a call for, they'll say my name, and then it would just be like, and it don't make sense. You can tell it's a scam call. They want you to ring back. They want you to get into that, and it's getting easier to scam people as well. Imagine the older folks who are like, they genuinely think it's like some kind of, for their TV license or whatever it is, and they're like, pick up, like, all right, and ring them, and it's just like some Indians in, New Delhi who've got literally just running these scams. And that's actually a good point on that. So I watched this thing, I think Sam Altman said that the biggest market is actually India.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. So ChatGPT's biggest market is India, and it's because of because it's just easy for them to pitch to them in that sense, right? Because it's a tool. It does it all. Like, your English might not be that great, but you put it in a prompt, you can get out emails.
You got 1.4 billion people there, right?
Yeah, of course. It's like that's more people than America and Europe. Close to that. Yeah. So up there with China. All right, we've been waffling on for some time. We appreciate everyone tuning in.
Still here. 17 now. That's our highest today.
We need to get 20. We need to get 20. Let's get the reshares in, guys.
You got another phone? Jump on that, guys. Just watch Just get us over to 20, and then we'll go. We'll cut.
No, sure. You know what? Like, X is just a cesspit. I can't even bother to even look for it. I'm just like,
you get sucked into.
You get sucked into some random data. What was it? Like, I don't even want to read half of this stuff. iPhone camera settings. This is the stuff I like. It's nothing relevant. It's all just business related.
All right.
Do you use X a lot, Baron?
X.
Yeah, you're a big X.
Anytime I've gone on to X, honestly, like even though like my the new feed isn't fully like, it's just focused on tech stuff, but still I find just really messed up stuff on there, man. Like,
for real.
It's a one place. Like if I wanted to find something crazy, like what happened in terms of assassination, I know you're gonna find it on there. So like, it's unfortunate.
It's a good tool for news, right? Like, because you're getting different views of news, which I think is great. I think you can get like so much news from X. Like if you're looking for a topic, you can get like 100 different opinions. But then it's like, how do you know which opinion, and do you have a bias? So it's kind of like, that's what it is. So I think using like way more like live streaming. They tune into live stream. They're more interested in like, social media. That's where apparently like that's where they search all this stuff nowadays. Is like TikTok and And like,
well, you can imagine,
they don't even probably use Google. And now you got ChatGPT. It's like, I don't use Google as much. Do you use Google as much?
Nah. Do you know what? I actually like try and use Google more because I feel like I'm getting dumber by using ChatGPT for so much stuff.
Yeah, so
I'm being completely honest. I try and not use it as much.
Yeah, so what we started to do is like we just went on a complete ChatGPT detox, right? I think what we ended up more, what I leverage it more now is go to find a source, and then I'll go into that source. Like, you know, on the topic that we were talking about, tokenization of gold, I'll actually ask it, okay, go find me the best white papers, and I'll give it, you know, what I mean by the best, and then it'll give me like 5 white papers. I'll download it, and then I'll take my time sitting and reading it. But what I did find was, when we started doing that and sitting down and reading and like printing stuff out,
your retention's so much better.
So much better. But I actually struggled first to read, to keep the attention, to, you know, go through the lines.
You know what it is? It's like when you read, you have to have like almost silence, right? So when I try to read, it's at night, and but it does make you sleep. It's a great remedy for sleep. But it's like, if you got your phone next to you, you'll read something, and then, you know, someone will buzz you, or you'll have a notification, and you will lose your trail of thought sometimes, like not always. And then it's kind of like you realize that why the younger generation probably don't read books as much, and they're, you know, like, it's a whole different generation. Everyone's on this 3-second thing, and it's like
a dopamine.
It is.
Thing, isn't it?
It's a drug. It's like it's designed like a casino, right? Like you go to a casino in Vegas or whatever. You know, I've been Vegas, been into the casino, MGM, and all that, right? The way they design it is like they try to trap you in there. I don't gamble myself, but it's like I've been with friends who do, and it's like you go through like the experience, and it's all these lights. It's even the lighting systems in there are made for you to stay in there, right? And the same as a phone. It's like that blue light. You absorb it. It creates this, you know, realm, and you're just sucked into.
Do you know what? I didn't feel it as much of a problem. Like, I didn't have any issues with like getting sucked into phone or going down any rabbit holes. It was reels. It's something about the way you engage with a reel. It's that constant hit. There's no gap. You don't even get a chance to have a breather to break the.
It's actually the worst thing when you're doom
scrolling,
right? Doom scrolling. You're like literally then you're like 20 minutes late. You're like, oh my god, I wasted 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost like you create like it's like it's a habit. Yeah,
Umar, it's so funny you mentioned that, because like there's this model, right? So check this out, right? So this is called the hook model, right? It's actually like they have got it down to a science. This is probably like 15 years old. When I got into the industry, I came across this, but they have got it to a science around how to build habits around digital products. And like, it's the same thing, you know, like when we do gaming, and you invest that time into that character, whether it's GTA or Fight Night, it's that loop that they given, right? So the trigger here is like, what internal trigger is a product addressing? What external trigger gets the user to use that product, right? Then what is the simplest behavior in anticipation for a reward? Then the reward itself, is the reward fulfilling, yet leaves the user wanting more? And then you go into investment. What bit of work is done to increase the likelihood of returning? And you're back in the trigger.
Yeah, that is like a nutshell of, you know, watching something very quickly in 5 seconds that makes you laugh, whatever, feel something, and then
you need that hit.
And
it's a drug.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy? Don't you think?
Swiping, and you get the like. It's like you. It's 100%.
But it's crazy that the reward and investment part, like what gets us fulfilled, I swear, like last 10 years, we're just much more easier to fulfill now, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, and that's, we've just become so desensitized.
Instant. Yeah, it's instant.
It's like, you know, back in the days, you were banking apps, right? It's like you back in the days, you probably have to go to the bank, put money in the card, or do a transaction, fill out whatever. I don't know. It was now it's like everything's online, instant. It's all digital. It's all there, and it's just like, you know, it's just the way the world is, and it's just like you have to embrace it. But then it's also like, you know, when you have kids, you kind of have to know the pitfalls and what they can, you know, experience as well. As like, you know, it's an interesting thing though. It's like, you know, technology itself is like, it destroys time. Yeah, it does destroy time. And it's like, you know, you only have a limited amount of time in a day. And then how many hours a day? What is your, obviously now we've done like, what's up, 4 hours?
We're contributing to it.
What's everyone's screen
Oh,
time?
what's my screen
What's
time? I
everyone's
think
screen
straight. Where do you check your screen time?
Screen time.
What's yours? Yours is disgusting, I bet.
Disgusting, yeah.
Where do you get screen time?
Yeah, but mine's combining Mac and iPhone. I need to.
Where is it?
All devices I need.
Well, what's everyone's screen time? Let's have a look.
Oh, if you asked me, I would have said max 4 or 5 hours. I would have said.
What's yours? I don't even want to say mine. What's yours? Yours more than mine. It says 8 hours.
What, today?
Is that right? That's all apps and website activity. Oh, that's mine. That must be on my laptop as well then.
Nah, if it's your laptop, it come up like this. Look.
Oh, you know, it's all devices. Yeah, it is. It is. If we look at,
it's about 6 hours, I think, but it says apparently on average on my phone 7 hours. But a lot of it's calls though, like WhatsApp.
Okay, yeah. I cracked myself a little bit because
Yeah.
I'm 4 hours on the iPhone, but all devices it's like 16 hours.
15 hours.
Nah, that's got to be laptop as well. Got to be.
No, it's
Liam.
not, isn't it?
This is all devices.
Now go top right.
Yeah.
Click devices.
So Liam's doing 15 hours a day on this stuff. That's what you got ADHD, brother.
Wait, Umar, he's doing what? 15 hours on all devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
It's
what I'm on.
it says the thing that I'm on the most is WhatsApp. So I'm just chatting waffle to people for 15 hours a day. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think
And then after that's Reddit. That's mental.
Mine's WhatsApp, Instagram, X. But WhatsApp's the main one. It's like, you know, just contacting people. On calls.
That's got to be, that for me, it's got to be MacBook as well. Like, no way I'm on my phone that long.
All right, guys. We almost hit 20 now. Look, one more. See,
one more, guys. One more.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Just get 20.
Mum, quickly jump in on the line.
Everyone stream off free device. Yeah. Nah, it's going good. But I think we should definitely have more random chats. I think it's interesting, just to just go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, I would say like it's almost. I agree with that. I think we've got to be a bit more broader, like just things that we want to talk about. You know, we've done. Mum goes, go to bed, bruv.
Nah, we don't sleep.
Team no sleep. Well, actually, I'll go sleep early. This is past my bedtime.
I've got 15 hours of WhatsApp to do. I'm not going to sleep. It's a new day in 10 minutes. I've got 15 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're on 20, guys.
So,
wow. We got there in the end.
How are we going to end the segment off?
How are we going to end the segment?
Dancing for everyone.
What's that?
Do a little dance for everyone. I think that's what
shut up, mate. I ain't going to do a dance. We said we're not going to be the next Aiden Rosses and I Show Speeds, mate. So
we're never getting there.
We're never getting there. But no, on that note, guys, I think thank you everybody for joining. For those that joined later in the show as well, really appreciate it. We're going to carry on doing this every Friday. You'll probably start seeing more clips and stuff over time. And we'll keep it a bit more broader. I think, we've done a lot of mining conversations, but we'll start getting more interesting guests from different backgrounds. And you'll be seeing myself, Umar, and Liam a hell of a lot more. But once again, just massively appreciate everybody joining. You know, at least we're not on zero and it's just me, Umar, and Liam chatting, even though we'd carry on probably. But
people interested. Everyone bang a little W in the chat for us to, 3 hours and 49 minutes. Good night, boys. Nice show. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you, Uncle. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Don't worry. It's just the start.
W, Ibra, next time you're going to be in the office opposite us.
Yeah, man. You're going to be here for 4 hours. Now, we've got to beat the next one. 5, man.
Yeah.
We might have to start it earlier.
Might need to sleep at the office, Liam.
24-hour marathon next. Get ready.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate it.
I don't know why you're still up, but
I'm there. Ibra's apparently there.
Oh, it's jokes. No, it's been good. Honestly, we've covered broad topics. Obviously, let's just recap the show. Like, you know, obviously originally, you know, it was deeply mining. But yeah, like I feel like there was a good mixture. I think Gene brought a lot of a different perspective. It's kind of like when we had Chris on the last one, right? It was he had a different perspective, and it's always nice to get people who don't understand, you know, who are from different industries and, you know, different age groups together and have an engaging conversation. I think there'll be plenty more of that, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more of us just waffling on
100%.
you know, talking shit, as I say, and we can't edit it, so
That's it.
Yeah.
so the disclaimer is anything we've said, it was all lies.
It's all our opinions.
Don't believe a word of what we said. Disclaimer.
It doesn't represent the thoughts of Outliers and Muso Health.
Represent it. This is just a comedy show. Do you know what I mean? We're here for fun.
Opinions are our own.
It's all our own opinion. Don't represent as the mining guys do. Disclaimer running down the bottom. Like, you know, all of this is just for comedy.
Maybe we could ask our friend to help us with that.
Yeah, for sure. We need to get honestly like some really good guests on. I think it's just about keeping the momentum up, boys. I think, you know, we need to get some cool guests on.
Yeah, guys, if you know anybody that you
I
think,
want to get Lumos on.
yeah, Lumos would be good. Eventually, we'll get a few other people. We'll get some wild cards as well, right? But, you know, even if your own network,
someone who's like got at least like 300, 400,000 followers, isn't it? Come on, jump on with the lads. Give us a boost. Look, everyone also subscribe, share, all of that stuff, right? You know, I see that after every live.
Comment, like, share, subscribe.
oh yeah, we'll have all the little bells and whistles, animations for maybe.
Nah, Brown, we work on it to be Mr. Producer.
Nah, bro, that's Ibra.
That's Ibra. Ibra, you're gonna have to work this thing, bro. You're just gonna have to get this the Maytab wild card. We should get Maytab and Steel Bangles on a call. It'll be some great.
We'll get Steel Bangles one day. Don't worry.
He'll come around, won't it?
He'll come around.
To the studio. We'll get him on there.
If not, we'll just get V on.
We need V on for a bit of banter.
Yeah, now we're good. We'll ask him about the music industry.
Yeah, for sure. But the feedback's been all good anyways, all the way through. And Liam's looking extra tired and he's got to drive back.
Well, you've got to drive back, Liam. You might as well just come stay here, mate, on the way.
The couch is looking pretty good. That's all right.
But thank you guys. We will be back next Friday. I'm sure we'll have some more guests on. You know, we're just trying to grow out the network. Look, any thoughts and suggestions, feedback is appreciated.
And any questions, like anything you thought of, and you didn't, feel to jump in on the chat, DM us. DM us the conversation. So.
Look, and anyone can join as well. If anyone's like, yo, I just want to jump in and say my little 2 cents, I'm cool with that. I think that's like a good way to do it. And look, at least we ain't out on Friday night. We're not out on the bender.
That's it. Yeah.
That's what it's about, boys. So
it feels like it though.
Still early. Liam might hit up O'Neill's or something. Nah, but thank you guys, appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. That's all from us, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Hasta la vista.